that's the time when I really built a strong connection with her. And then since then, it's seeing her constantly evolve and picking up identities and slowly sort of, beginning to become the person that she's becoming. One part of me doesn't want her to become that, and the other part of me is like
Exactly.
observing the evolution. It's amazing. So we are live. Awesome. All right. So welcome to the Eternal Return Unconference Day 4, last day. Thank you for setting aside your weekend for us. Really appreciate it. And where do we begin? We had a lot of fun the last 3 days, packed with a lot of conversations, hitting the point of saturation at some point in our brain cells, but again, resetting and coming back for more. And this has just been an amazing experience, so much learning for us. So many amazing relationships that we are building with people that we are talking to, and so many new people that are reaching out to us on our social platforms and other places, and sharing their stories with us and wanting to collaborate with us and giving us a few kudos as well in these messages makes us really, really happy. It's a sad thing that it's almost the last day, but at the same time, I think everything that begins has to come to an end at some point. But not without packing the day with some really awesome stuff. To begin with, I want to introduce you to Ria Rustagi, the rock star of the day, I think, only because she's just an entrepreneur who is solving problems for mental health issues, and she's just delivered a baby. How many weeks is the baby here?
She's 5 weeks.
5 weeks old, and she's just still working and doing. I mean, I was complaining yesterday about, I'm getting a headache. I want to go back and I don't want to do anything. And then here she's coming and telling me today that she's a baby for 5 weeks old, and then she's sitting here and talking, and she's working extra hours because they're putting out a new product. All of it is in the space of mental health. So I mean, sometimes we men need to shut our, holes up and then just simply take inspiration from the women like Ria who do what they do. So, Ria, thank you so much for coming. I can't tell you how grateful I feel for you to be here, having set aside this time for us,
It's
having been in
my
the middle
pleasure.
of all great stuff, a new product, new baby, new role play in life, juggling so many beautiful things. Ria, I think one of the things that really excited me when I think I came across one of your ads, to be honest, on Instagram. I said, "Damn, this is awesome. I need to really understand who these people are and what they're doing." I'll be very honest with you. Sometimes the perception of some things like these that pop up on social platforms, you tend to sort of develop a little bit of skepticism to terms of, is this for real? I mean, who are these people and what are these things and whatnot? And I was like, but I still need to find out. I still need to see and talk to these people and see what they're up to. And then I spoke to you, and then I had such an amazing conversation with you. And I was convinced that, you're the right person to be doing what you're doing. And I felt really comfortable talking to you about all of these things. So ever since, I've been really looking forward to this conversation and for this particular day. So Ria Rustagi is the co-founder at Neophony, and Neophony works with developing wearable technologies that helps people deal with the mental health challenges. They have various products. I'm not going to go into detail about their product portfolio. She will probably talk about it better than I can. But what is exciting about this is that this is the cutting edge technology that people are now working with in order to not only help you heal and sort of address your mental health challenges, various kinds of mental health challenges, whether it is depression, ADHD, PTSD, OCD. I don't know how many more different issues that these kinds of devices can address. But on the other side, which I don't know if a lot of people talk about it or not, but there are obviously a lot of research going on this, which is people are using these, and along with neurofeedback, even working with altering states of consciousness. And this closed circuit loop of using wearable technology to alter states of consciousness and deal with your mental health challenges, but taking the feedback that is coming from your neural network and then feeding that back into a smartphone or a smart device that can constantly keep regulating the kind of, you know, experiences or other algorithms that it needs to run on you, is something that I'm looking forward to in terms of where it's going to go into the future, right? So there are so many different kinds of base technologies that people are using to build these kinds of devices. And I'm going to let Ria take over from here and talk about what exactly are they building, and most importantly, Ria, what I want you to sort of share with us is the catalyst or the inspiration that led you to start this.
Definitely.
um, One of the things that I realized, Ria, before we went deeper into this, is that most of the people, one way or the other, the way we had to find out whether they're authentic or not, is what is their personal story? What is the reason why they got onto this path? Right?
Right.
Often, that is the giveaway if the person is doing the authentic work or not, right? And we obviously talked about your personal story as well. Why don't we begin with that, if you're okay with it? Take that from
100%.
there, and the stage is yours. I'm going to leave the stage, and you're going to drive this conversation. If you need me, call me. I'm going to come back and we can have a chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited. So, hi everybody. My name is Ria Rustagi, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Newfini. Newfini actually means it's an amalgamation of two words, neuron and euphony. So, it's the ability of us as humans to be able to drive your neurons into a symphony of patterns. And in 2020 we incorporated the company, but me and my co-founder, who's also my husband, has been working on this for a very long period of time, at least since 2018 December. My father has been an entrepreneur all his life, so I was never excited about this, whole experience and this field. But something very personal, my elder sister was diagnosed with a neurological condition. She was in a stroke ICU at the age of 25 for 5 months. She went into the hospital walking and talking, and within 5 days she lost her consciousness, was in a paralyzed semi coma condition. And each day was uh, crazy because we didn't know if she would make it or not. I was 22 at that time, living in Singapore, studying. From there I came to India, got to know this, but unfortunately we lost my sister in November. Now, I thought of myself to be a smart person. We didn't see any symptoms. We lost her. We tried everything. I read about it everywhere. But there was lack of information, knowledge, awareness as to what resulted into her condition, how we could have even monitored. Like, could we have predicted this happening? Could we have prevented her from having this much of pain at that age? Why every day when she was hospitalized was a surprise? Why couldn't we just have like a monitor over her to analyze her situation, if it's getting better or worse? She was getting better, and all of a sudden she started getting worse. The doctors, I don't think so, knew much about this particular condition. It was a meningitis infection, and all of that resulted into a lot of uncertainty in my life. I, as a kid, have has always been anxious. Anxious about my scores, my education, my marks, how I will perform, how others perceive me, fear of getting judged. And then when this traumatic experience happened, I had PTSD, but I didn't even knew that I had PTSD until my co-founder, my boyfriend at that time, started to work on a brain variable. And I told him that, see, if you want to work on a brain variable, it has to be something that that could have not maybe saved my sister's life, but maybe would have helped me diagnose it earlier, reduce her pain, get some sort of education and awareness. Something, I do believe in destiny, but I do believe that maybe science and education can just make the whole experience a little bit better. And that's where Newfini was born. With Newfini, our goal and vision is that we want to help people with anything brain related. We started with the fact that we have to help people like my sister who were in the stroke ICU, but turns out that's a medical device. It would have like a lot of requirements to be met. So we thought we'll start with something very basic. Why not help people just build awareness, self acceptance, help them understand themselves better. My boyfriend at that time asked me, "Are you a stressful person?" And I said, "No, I'm a passionate person. I'm very passionate about things. I'm very hardworking." And why? Yes, I am all of that, but I am also a very stressful person. I do get very anxious, but I was not aware of that at that particular time. So why not we give this product to people? Why not we build a product for people where they can get some self awareness and education about what they are? If my focus level, if my relaxation level, mental fatigue, readiness, all these different matrix, even mood as an important parameter. Because if I have a bad mood one day of the week, it's okay. 2 days of the week, it's okay. But what if it's 5 days of the week? Then it's not okay. I need to take some action to get better. And I think that's where modern science can help us really build that consciousness and self awareness as to what I am experiencing, what I am feeling in today. And that is the goal and the vision of the product and the company, that we help people understand their brain health better. Now, as a part of that journey, what is brain health? Brain health is a spectrum of different things. It could be productivity, it could be focus, it could be self improvement, which is completely for the healthier population, let me say it like that. But it's also for people who have stress, anxiety, panic attacks, anxiety, all of this at a very early stage. But also for people who have OCD, PTSD, ADHD, depression, uh, anxiety disorder, GAD. This variable, which is EEG, can help you build and improve that as well. These are different products, these are different classes of products when it comes to medical approval. But this is what I personally want to work on, uh, which changes how we see mental health. I believe that physical health got revolutionized because people started seeing gyms as lifestyle and not as something where obese people go to just get healthier and fitter. No, it's a place where healthy and fit people can also go to get healthier and fitter. So similarly, when it comes to mental health and wearables and devices like ours, which is new for me, people can use this product to get better at what they do. They can just improve themselves. Wherever you are in your journey, you can actually get better. uh, the technology that we have is basically a EEG device. So like ECG is your heart rate, EEG is your brain wave. The device reads the electrical activity of your brain by touching your scalp. It touches different sensor locations. There are generally 32 possible, 64, 128 even sensor locations that are possible, but ours is a wearable, so we have only 8 sensor locations through which we capture the information. Then the data is transferred through Bluetooth to your mobile application, and then that with that EEG, we capture your different brain waves: alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma. Gamma is the brainwave which monks have for the for the conscious, for higher consciousness. To actually tap into your subconscious mind, you need your gamma brain waves. Now before you enter into gamma, you need theta brain waves for a longer period of time, which is the meditative brain wave, or let's say the creative brain wave. This is what you would want in your brain, and you would want to track. So if you are people who meditate, who work on brain training, self improvement, you want to make sure that you have and you can retain theta brainwaves for a longer period of time. And our device can help you that, help you track that. For people who are just entering into this field and have less understanding of the different brain waves, we also convert this information into a user understandable format, which is external focus versus internal focus, stress versus relaxation, mental fatigue if it's high, which is basically cognitive load, and then readiness, which is basically alertness or mindfulness, uh, or a synonym to divided attention, that I can listen to you, but I can also process information at the back of my head, basically. And these are the different parameters our product can track. But that's not it. We just don't track or monitor. Our goal is improvement. How do we help you with improvement? To be honest, science says that meditation is the best way, proven way, to actually help you improve your mental state, be it distraction, relaxation, again, any cognitive state could be improved by meditation. You just need to know the kind of meditation that you should do. There are thousands and thousands of paper, to be honest, which you can read for better sleep, how meditation can help with better sleep, better focus, better relaxation, compassion, gratitude, anxiety, depression, PTSD. It helps. So we give meditation as a tool, but we also offer neurofeedback. Neurofeedback is a way to help you come into the current moment. So, for example, right now you're not listening to me and thinking about things that you should do or you should have done. The product actually sends a feedback through the mobile application or the desktop application where my volume reduces, or through the desktop application where if you are a video, the video stops, the speed of the video reduces. If you're playing games, basically, so if it's a car, the car stops moving. If it's a levitating person, then the person kind of drops down. So there are different games which we offer where people can help build that sense of consciousness to be in the current moment and to come back into the current moment. You can track scores, and that's how over a period of time basically you can improve on your consciousness using neurofeedback and meditation, basically gamified meditation, uh, with our product. I think I have explained my product and journey well to you, and I would really appreciate any questions or anything that I can further help in understanding and correlating as to how modern science can help you actually build more consciousness.
Super. Listen, I have a ton of questions. Okay, I mean, I
Please.
I don't even know if we have so much time left or not, but nevertheless. So, what would you tell people who say, hey, you're bringing in technology into my sacred space,
Yes.
right? You're bringing technology into something that is interfacing, interacting, altering my inner world.
Correct.
Right? I have that phobia. I have that fear. What would you tell me if I come to you with that question? How would you deal with that?
So yeah, to be honest, we have brought in a lot of technology into our world where it has made things worse for us. Since I have become a mother, I have not watched one TV series, one episode, let alone TV series, a video, anything, because I decided that I don't want to engage in content which is short span, long span, or anything, because that can kind of take me away from being in my moment with my daughter. As much as I, any which ways, have limited time because I want to manage my work and my daughter. Uh, that being said, there are a lot of technological interventions that are already existing which are impacting us in the negative way. Trust us, I don't want to be any other technology product which is just another distraction for you. We try and we make sure that this product is there. If you allow me to enter into your sacred space, because yes, you do, but it's only to help you enhance and improve on the experience that you've built. I Because when there is a sort of validation as to what you are experiencing and what you can experience, a whole bigger pathway of experience is open, because
Hmm.
you can now understand that sacred space better. You can tap into that sacred space better. If you know that you have achieved theta brainwaves, you know that there is a better and a bigger journey out there. When you see the change, it gives you a sort of validation, and validation and numbers are always helpful.
So how do you sort of like walk me through this as a use case, right? I mean, I got the device now, I've got the app, and I'm sort of using that, and I'm using this, let's say, during my meditation practice, right? So then I wear it on and I use this, and then there is a bunch of data that the app is capturing. How am I interpreting the data? What kind of data am I seeing there? How does it sort of aid me in making my practice more efficient?
So there are two ways to basically make your practice efficient using our products. A is with neurofeedback and the other is without neurofeedback. A lot of people don't like the gamified real-time experience because it hinders with their real-time experience. It's like, don't tell me how I'm doing. Let me just go on my path. I don't care how I'm doing. I just want to be on that journey. So, but with Newfony, you can take both the ways. But what it does is at the end of the session, it tells you how relaxed, how focused you are, how easily you got distracted through the session. So, for example, right now you're meditating, there is hindrance around you. Did that impact you? How much did it impact you? And impact is not the problem. The ability to come back from that hindrance into your sacred space is the concern. So
Yeah, absolutely.
we help you with that gamified version to actually be able to pull back into the current moment. Resilience, mood, how did your mood change? And that kind of gives you validation. See, today you did 5 minutes of meditation and it helped you improve your relaxation levels by 10%. If you do this for another 6 weeks regularly, this will help you build your relaxation, increase your relaxation by 20%. And the best part about brain is neuroplasticity. It
Hmm,
keeps on increasing.
that's
There's
true.
never 100%.
I was at some point I sort of realized this, because when you're dealing with a lot of mental health challenges, you don't have a marker towards what a normal state of mind can be like, or what it could feel like, because human beings generally, all of us tend to sort of go based on memory, go based on experience. We need to touch something, we need to taste something before we know, this is how it tastes like, or
Right.
this is how it feels like. So then when you're hitting that spot all the time in life later on, there is some bit of incentivization that happens within. I think, good, you're hitting this spot more often now, it's more efficiently
Exactly.
now, and so, any aid that can help me access such state, to even, there is this classic saying, right? When you're crossing the river, use the boat, but then don't try to carry it on the banks and then walk into the woods, because you leave them behind by the bank. So, using these technologies, knowing that they are vitamins and then are not sort of medication, is very important, I feel. um,
Correct.
where is this world heading? There is so much noise. I love the fact that there is so much noise in this space, to be honest with you, where tech is sort of coming into the sacred spaces, and sort of helping people access sacred spaces more efficiently. Where do you sort of see this space going in the next 12 months? You are at the forefront of all of these technologies, you're building new products. What is your gut feel? What is your prediction?
Uh, so there are two ways. Better experiences, for example, VR, where you really kind of get into the visualization of your experiences because that kind of enhances your experience. One. Second, people, I don't know if it's good or bad to be honest, but people are seeking the sacred space so desperately, they
Hmm.
want to reach there quicker.
Hmm.
So they will rely on all sort of stimulating modalities or experiences to kind of
Hmm.
just have that experience on an instant rather than working towards it, which
Hmm.
is okay, which I believe is also good and also bad, both.
This goes back to the thing that I was telling you earlier, right? Let them taste it. Once when they
Exactly.
taste it, then the pursuit begins.
That's why I said it's good and bad both, because sometimes it's good because you've had a taste of it, now you want to work towards it. But then sometimes just people want to take the lazy way out and just be keep tasting it in the quicker way and rather than working towards it. But then little do they understand is that you have to work towards it, because once you stop it, then you lose that experience and that taste. You want to develop it over a period of time so that it stays with you forever and there's less hard work required to be there. The monks, for example, you work so much towards it that you can just access it instantly. And I
Again,
think
the states that the monk. So obviously, the state is in isolation is an experience, but state achieved through a life lived is a profound journey that makes the whole experience more meaningful, right?
exactly.
So there is no way you can, sort of replace the profoundness of a lived life experience when achieving higher states of consciousness by simply buying a device and thinking that device is going to make me
Exactly.
an enlightened human. I don't believe that is possible, but who knows? You never know what's up in the future, right? But tell me something. What kind of safety, health regulations, and other things that these products need to go through, before they reach customers, before you start even selling them?
So internationally, since we do not diagnose anything, CE, which is the electronics certification, ROHS, ISO certifications, these are what you really require, because I am not diagnosing you on anything. I am not saying you have a condition. I am not saying I'll treat your condition. I am saying I will help you understand yourself. It's like a smartwatch for your brain. That's why the tagline. uh, it's a consumer product. It is a self-awareness product, and these are the certifications that you require, and that's what we have.
Super. So, what are the kind of people who are coming and talking to you? How does the sale happen? How do people acquire your product? And also within this, if you can share with me, I don't know how confidential this information is, but if you can, how many of them are coming for therapeutic purposes, and how many of them are coming for, you know, is it possible for you to find that out for altered
Yeah,
states of consciousness and things like that? Yeah.
yes, I'm actually thinking of the number. So basically, for us, more than 60 to 70% of our clients are for consciousness, meditation, music therapy, breathing techniques, all these purposes together for self improvement. Now, these people could be twofold. They could be individuals, or they could be practitioners or coaches who want to enhance this and provide this experience to multiple people. So, for example, yesterday there was India's, I think, one of the biggest meditation centers. They have some 30 centers across India. They visited us. They wanted to procure the devices because they wanted to validate. They had this big, thick book of research papers that they had published on their techniques, and
Mhm.
they wanted to buy Newfini so that they can actually validate and show it to the world the impact of their work.
Oh, that's
And
amazing, because I always wondered which one works best. There is no way to find out. I'm sure there is
that is a way to find
experiencing,
out.
but in a way you can, if there is no way to scientifically prove that this combination of meditation works better on my body, and this is headed really into an exciting space
The
now.
best part you said was about my body, because we have to
Yeah.
understand that one size does not fit all. So even if
No,
I publish something for myself, might be the complete opposite for you. So for
that's
us,
so
the people can
fascinating.
actually reach out to us through our website, through our social media. They can buy the products through the website. If you have some questions, you can just reach out to my sales team through the WhatsApp button and the contact button over our website, and then they'll help you give an online demo. They'll make you experience the product before you actually go and buy it.
Hmm. Listen, if there is at any point in time when you guys are looking to do some research or trials, or these kinds of things for your products, do consider some of us, nerds and geeks who are out here, consciousness geeks who might want to sort of lend our own self to this process and see what we can help with in this journey. Um, what else? I mean, what next? What next for Newfony? What are you guys planning in the next near future?
So the goal is actually, so right now our product is like 50,000 INR, which is basically like 699 US dollars. So our goal is actually to create a consumer wearable product which can, so that we can actually reach out to the masses. Like a lot of students have reached out. We are the most stressed, we really need this, we cannot afford it, can you make this cheaper, can you give it to us free of cost? And that has been one of the things that really, like, because then you don't change the present, you also change the future in a way, because we
Oh,
are
totally.
building uh less, and I would say less stressful, less anxious, more compassionate human beings for the future. And that's why the future for Newfini is actually to launch affordable, sleeker versions of the product.
Well, lovely. I mean, I think um, these are the kind of movements that sort of made us go out and start what we have started, right? Because my, belief, or rather more than belief, the way we see the whole situation here is that, let's say, cut to 10 years, 15 years from now, if more and more people are seeking consciousness as an ambitious pursuit in their life and wanting to live, in a conscious way,
Exactly.
sooner or later the behavior is going to change, patterns of living is going to change, your buying habits are going to change, the way you look at the whole world and your place in it is going to change. With that shift happening, I'm hoping that people are going to create more and more things from this place of authenticity and in a conscious way. And and if all of that is going to happen, then hopefully a place like Sacred Startups can do some service in that journey to people to say, hey, you know what, maybe you should, like how you've started this, right? If we existed about a couple of years back before you started this, or when you were starting this, a lot of these kinds of conversation, and I don't know what all we could have done together, right?
True.
But nevertheless, the future is still there. And then I'm just saying, because the venture ecosystem is so strongly sort of focused on people selling stuff either to businesses or to consumerized sort of experiences. Very little is really there, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, for people like you who are truly building to help people live a better life, and to sort of enhance their states of consciousness, and also having a place to have these conversations, this vocabulary, and this
Yes, it's
culture and
very rare.
subculture. Yeah, I hope so. We get to do more of this. Okay, listen, we are out of time. Anything you want to say as we sort of say bye to each other? Passing
Uh,
comments?
no, just I think stay conscious, stay compassionate, and if there's anything that Newfney can help you with, please reach out to us. We are always doing some really crazy fun stories. So it would be nice for you guys to reach out to us, and then we can take this further. Perfect. And I'm so
Oh, look
sorry.
at you. That's
My
no,
daughter
no. Please don't be
is.
sorry. This is a privilege. Don't be sorry about this. I mean, I'm so grateful for the fact that you've still taken time, though having the 10-week-old baby to cater to. But listen, thank you so much. Continue to do what you're doing. If there is any way which we can help you on your journey, reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to
Please.
collaborate, lend our time, whatever it is. Thank you so much for
Done.
doing what you do.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
You too. Enjoy motherhood. Bye bye.
Yes. Bye bye.
All right. That was Ria. I'm going to bring in Vikram. Hi, Vikram. How are you?
Very good, Shashi. How are you?
Super. You're looking all like shiny.
Oh well, I got a nice
We need
light.
to put on. We need to put on one of those devices that Ria makes to test what's happening on the inside of your brains. There, that's bringing out so much sheen and shine. All right. So moving on from wearable tech to talking about, I think I came across Vikram's work when I think approximately in November or December of last year. And my pursuit has always been about to find people who come with these two different interests in their lives. He's a data scientist, and then he's also a Vedic astrologer, and who now lives in Oroville in near Pondicherry, and does a lot of interesting work there. But why is this combination interesting? You see, if you're a data scientist, when you're looking at data, most of the times, if you're coming from a statistical background, or if you're coming from a logical background, if you're coming from a behavioral perspective, a lot of this data gets interpreted from a psychological or a behavioral aspect, right? A lot of these things are only looked at from that dimension. But if you're sort of trying to build a business that is, or rather a venture that is focused around human consciousness and dealing with so many of the subtle aspects of life, while data is absolutely important, but how can you look at this data beyond behavior into the realms of the subtle? And now, how can this be useful? Is by then taking some of these things and bringing it back to the core of building a technology in terms of how the algorithm is designed, what kind of philosophies are these algorithms based on, and what kind of every algorithm is nothing but a condensed version of your way of looking at reality. And whether that reality is coming from a logical perspective or whether the reality is coming from a subtle perspective is completely left to the guy who's experiencing it or the guy who's witnessing it, right? So when I saw Vikram come to me, or rather when I saw Vikram's work between data science and Vedic astrology, my heart lit up, because I felt like at last I can really sit down and speak to someone about so many things that I wanted to talk to, which we ended up, exchanging a few of those ideas when we interacted before we got onto this session. So it's a very happy time for me to have you here, Vikram. Thank you so much for taking time to come and speak to us. What I would really love for us to explore in this conversation, if I can learn from whatever you're going to share with us, is how can we really put ancient wisdom at the core of our design principles within when you're designing a technology, when you're thinking of a technology, right? um, if we can sort of change our perspectives from about this. So tomorrow, if I'm building, let's say, a dating app, instead of leaning more towards optical illusions, if I can move more towards, I don't know, a subtle, more divine way of experiencing that process, I think is one way to sort of unlock someone's perspective, right? So I know it's a long introduction. I'm sorry, because it's a lot of my excitement that is talking. I'm going to now shut up, jump off the stage, hand this over to you. And I know Ashish is going to be there to help you guide through this session. So, yeah,
Sure,
all the
sure.
best.
Thank you, Shashi. Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everyone. We have an hour, and what I'd like to start with is a small grounding, very brief, just so that all of us are on the same page. Yeah. So if I can just ask you all to put your phones on silent mode, make yourselves available for the next hour or so. I'll try to wrap this up in an hour. Find your feet on the floor. My phone is on Do Not Disturb. Yeah. Find your feet on the floor. And if we can just connect with our breath, yeah, before we go into this topic. Align your back. I welcome you to close your eyes. If you're not comfortable, keep them open, but just lower your gaze. And let's just take a few deep breaths together. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back into this space. Thank you for indulging me with that. So I'm going to share my screen. My topic is going to be on how to use ancient knowledge in today's times. So just let me know if you see my screen. Yes, my screen has come up. Yeah. So I've called this as the divide and conquer approach for using Vedic knowledge, ancient knowledge in today's world. And like Shashi was saying, I want to bring in technology as well. Now, what I'm going to present to you is something that I take my students through over several sessions. But we're going to fast forward the whole thing because I want to show you what we can do using modern day technology. And by modern day technology, I'm talking of ChatGPT or Claude Sonnet, any large language model, right? To use this Vedic knowledge and apply it in day-to-day life. Yeah, it's going to be very informative. So please see if you can give me your full attention. We are going to split this into sections. Around 15-20 minutes, I'm going to take you through a few slides. It will be a little reflective. After that, I'm going to invite you to do something hands-on, and then we'll bring in an LLM like ChatGPT in order to analyze what we put into this model, right? I'll take you through the whole process. Let's go. Yeah. Now, one of the main things that is mentioned in the Vedas, right, is that everything is Brahman. Yeah. Everything is Brahman. What it means is everything is divine, right? It's the starting assumption when we go on this path. And we are going to start from that assumption that everything is one. Yeah. Now that I'm going to illustrate it as the cosmos. Yeah. And our task is to understand that oneness, that Brahman, right? Now, there are many approaches to do that, but what we are going to explore is to divide that oneness into smaller components in order to understand it, in order to conquer it. It's the divide and conquer approach. Yeah. Why do I want to divide? Because it's difficult for me to understand that oneness, that Brahman, that cosmos, right? Now, when I say cosmos, I'm literally meaning the cosmos, but I also refer to smaller entities in that cosmos, like myself, or my business, or my relationship. It's part of that cosmos, right? So I'm going to show you the Vedantic approach and the astrology approach, and then we'll apply it in our lives. Yeah. Now, when I want to divide this oneness, the starting point is to divide it into just two groups. Yeah. I have one and I want to divide it into only two that will help me understand that oneness. Now, if I take two, right, what I basically get is what is known as the dualities. The dualities, you can think of it as Shiva and Parvati. You can think of it as yin and yang. You can think of it as masculine and feminine. Over here, I've represented it as something that is bright and dark, bright and light and bright, and something that is dark. Yeah? But there are many things that are comprised in these dualities, right? And this is enumerated by Krishna in the second chapter in the Gita, right? The dualities. But let's see what these dualities are very briefly, right? Over here, I've called it as yin and yang. And like you may know, it has the positive side and it will have some challenging sides, right? So the first paragraph here is all the positive traits of yin and yang. So for instance, yang can be dynamic, can be assertive, very confident, very outgoing, right? Very extroverted. Yin is very withdrawn, very introverted, sensitive, emotional. Now, the dualities basically represent which way the direction your energy is going. Yeah? Is it going outward or is it going inward? Now, we'll start applying all of this to very practical day-to-day things, right? So just hold on and I'll show you how we do that. Coming back to this, right? So when I divide the oneness into two, I get the dualities, but that same oneness, if I want to understand it more, I divide it into three. Yeah. When I do that, I get what are known as the modalities or the method of action, the approach I take when I am faced with something in life. Yeah? Those modalities are the cardinal, the fixed, and the mutable. Right? Now, these are very Vedic astrology terms, but if we translate this to Indian philosophy, we get the Trinity. Yeah? Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma, which is the creator. So the cardinal is all about creating, initiating, taking forward something. Vishnu is the preserver. Over here, it is symbolized by the Sudarshan Chakra of Vishnu. And Vishnu wants to preserve. So anything that stays over a long time, long term, anything that is fixed and persevering, it's all about the Vishnu energy. Shiva, Rudra, Maheshwar, symbolized by the trident, is one that transforms, one that ends something and starts something new. That process of rebelling, transforming, is the mutable. So this is the approach that we bring to any problem we want to solve. Yeah. Now, in terms of characteristics? There are plenty. Yeah. Cardinal, the one way to remember these traits is to think of people who embody these traits. So, for instance, cardinal, I personally think of Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor Napoleon the Great. The way he went about conquering Europe, it's a very cardinal approach. Yeah. For fixed, I generally think of someone like Nelson Mandela, right, who persevered, in his fight against apartheid. And for mutable, I usually think of someone like Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, who was very adaptive, trying to understand what the customer wants in order to deliver the best product possible, right? There are positive traits, there are shadow sides, but you get the idea. This is the approach, this is the method in which I go about addressing an issue. Yeah? This is when I divide the oneness into 3. But in order to understand further, I can divide by 4. And when I do that, I get the elements. Yeah? The elements being fire, earth, air, earth, and water. Yeah, I've got it in this order for a particular reason. Now, the dualities represent which way the direction is flowing. The modalities represent the approach to problem solving. The elements refer to the context, yeah, in which that problem is to be solved or the problem manifests. Right? I'm calling it a problem. It does not have to be a problem. Generally, this is Prakriti. Basically, everything we see is composed of the 4 elements. I know what you're thinking. You may be thinking there are 5 elements, Vikram, there are not 4. And in Vedic astrology, we say the 5th element, ether, is the oneness from which the 4 elements manifest. So we consider 4 elements. Yeah. Let's look at some traits for these 4 elements. I've got fire, air, earth, and water. Fire is all about something that transforms energy, warmth, power, the courage to move forward. Air is all about being light and free and intellectual and communicating with each other in a very witty way. Earth is about being practical and grounded, being stable and committed, being steadfast. Water is all about being emotions, addressing intensity, pleasure. You get the drift. Yeah. There are numerous traits associated with each of these elements. What I invite you to do is to take away the framework from this session rather than what each of these things stand for, right? And by framework, what I mean is dividing something that you want to understand into smaller and smaller components, rather than addressing the whole issue as one, which is generally, it's not the approach. Yeah. In Vedic astrology, we don't address the one, we divide it in order to see what sense we can make of smaller and smaller divisions. Yeah. I just want to pause here for a moment to see if there are any questions before we start to apply this to day-to-day life.
Vikram, I think we're good. We can continue.
Come again?
We can continue. There's no questions which has come through.
Okay. Just 1 minute. Okay, let me just share my screen again. Okay, let's apply this to a personal challenge. Yeah. And what we're doing here is to try to understand that in smaller and smaller components. So the first is to divide that into two. Basically, the yin and the yang. Which way is the energy flowing? When I have a personal challenge, is my energy flowing more into implementing a solution and reflecting, understanding, analyzing the situation? At a very high level, these will be the dualities. Which way is my energy flowing? When I divide that challenge into two, I can divide that challenge into three and try to understand the modality, the method in which I'm addressing that challenge. For instance, am I being proactive? The Brahma energy, am I taking it head on? Am I trying to start something or initiate something? Which would be a cardinal proactive approach. Or am I being very persistent and resilient and consistent, bringing in the Vishnu energy? Am I persevering in trying to address the implementation or trying to reflect, analyze? That would be the Vishnu energy. Or am I being flexible enough in order to adapt to a new situation? That is what the challenge is asking from me, right? Am I open to change? Am I willing to adjust? Which would be the Shiva, the mutable energy. There needs to be a balance amongst all of these. If I put too much energy into any one, looking at it horizontally, then it's not in balance. It's going to tilt and it's not the ideal situation. To understand or to overcome that personal challenge, I can also divide into four, and I get the four elements, which will be the fire, air, earth, and water. With fire, there is a lot of courage and boldness in order to, say, implement a solution. But too much of fire may lead to a burnout. Too much of fire may make me reckless, may make me take unnecessary risk. I may just be pushing too hard. I need to balance that. With air, I bring in rational thought. Supposing I plan how I implement a solution, then I'm activating the air element. But too much of air can lead to an over-analysis, right? You would have heard of analysis paralysis, right? Just analyzing something and not implementing a solution. With earth, I bring in a grounded approach, a practical, logical approach to addressing that challenge. But too much earth can make me be too cautious, can make me hesitant to take any risk and avoid any change, right? I can become stuck in something. With water, I'm bringing in a kindness and a compassion to the whole situation. But too much of that can make me too critical on myself and overwhelmed by my own emotions. So I need to find a way to balance each horizontal thing, right? Balance the duality, balance the modality, needs to have all. See if you are too much in one modality and too less in the other, and balance all the elements, right? That would be the way to understand and overcome that personal challenge. Yeah. Let's take one more example. This was a very personal approach for oneself. What if we take this into the corporate world and see how this looks like if we are going to enter a new market? That's a huge thing, right? Again, break it down into dualities, modalities, and the elements. So if we are entering a new market, at a very high level, there are two things that are needed, right? On the yang side, it would be operations, actually doing something. And on the yin side, it would be visioning. Both are needed if you want to enter a new market. Now, I'm just taking one keyword from each, but you can take a whole list, right? And just group it into yin and yang, right? That is where the energy is flowing, and there needs to be a balance. Same thing with the modalities. What is the approach the leader takes when they enter a new market? With a cardinal approach, it would be about being initiative, taking proactive steps, setting up local partnerships, launching targeted marketing campaigns, just moving forward. But too much of that can make the company very aggressive in approach, right? Not very helpful. You need to bring in a Vishnu energy of being fixed, being stable, ensuring a reliable base, ensuring consistency, ensuring long-term survival, right? Which is the Vishnu energy. There also needs to be a Shiva, a mutable energy of adapting to the new market, right? Again, too much of mutable will make you very reactive, very inconsistent, lacking any clear direction. Needs to be balanced. And also it needs to be on the positive side rather than on the shadow side. You see how we are applying Vedic knowledge to a modern day issue. Yeah? Bring in the elements. With fire, it's all about being creative, being innovative, right? Taking bold actions, inspiring the team would be a fire energy. The air energy will be all about networking and communication. But too much of air, maybe you're spreading the message too thin, leads to miscommunication also. Yeah? With the earth element, it's all about having a solid logistical and operational infrastructure, right? The organization is all under earth. Yeah? And underwater comes sensitivity to the new culture, customer relationships, understanding what the customer wants in this new market. So again, there needs to be a balance with all the elements. Yeah. So I've presented two examples here, one for a personal challenge, applying this framework of divide and conquer, and the other for a corporate, like a business kind of a situation. But the challenge is the framework that I've presented so far is done at an individual level, right? I'm doing it myself for myself. As a leader for my team, I'm doing it. Yeah. And generally, this is done using a birth chart, right? We use the date, time, and place of birth to make a map of the sky when a question is asked or when a person is born. But it's a complicated affair, right? Everybody does not know how to make a birth chart. Everybody cannot start giving you birth details. And again, it's for an individual. But what if I want to use this framework when there is more than one person? Say, for instance, a relationship with a loved one, right? I want to strengthen my relationship. I want to see what's happening in a relationship. Now there are two people involved, right? Or what if there are even more? As in a team, I have a team of, say, 6-7 people working on a common project. I want to use this method of divide and conquer across the whole team. How would I do that? Technology comes to help. Yeah, it's amazing what we can do with modern day technology. And we can combine this framework with ChatGPT in order to help us understand how the elements are distributed across the team. And this is something that I'd like to experiment with all of us, with the audience. And what I'm going to do is share a survey with 40 statements, which you will take around 10 minutes to fill out. And then we will analyze those results in real time using ChatGPT, right? Or I may use Claude, I'm not sure. But basically, what I'm inviting you to do is to go to this link and just answer those 40 statements on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being it is most applicable, and 0 being it is not applicable. And I'll show you how we can use this divide and conquer framework with modern day technology. Yeah. So, Ashish, if you can just paste this link in the chat window and
already done. Yeah. Everyone, please. Hope you've got the links. You can start your survey, right? And we'll give you enough 10 minutes to go through the survey. Vikram, should we get onto the video now?
we can get on the video.
Okay. Okay, folks. What we're going to do right now is Vikram has shared with me a video, and I'm going to play that. And what you have to do is primarily to observe what happens in the entire video. And we're going to ask a few questions after that. And you will have to primarily answer according to the video. Right? Okay. Go ahead. We'll wait for that. We can take around 10 minutes for you to finish the survey, and then we can continue that. So you guys can do the survey. Meanwhile, let me put some nice music, and you can do the survey. So for those of you who have just joined in, as I see somebody has joined in. Hey everyone, the reminder for you to finish the survey provided by Vikram right there in the chat. We have 5 minutes more to finish the survey. Let us know once you're done filling up the survey with a yes in the comments so that we know you're done with the survey. Hey everyone, we've got, I think, quite a bit of responses. Thank you so much for taking your time to fill those up. These are hard questions, and I know you put in a lot of effort to give in those answers. If anybody has not finished the survey, and if you're taking time, please feel free to take another minute to complete the survey, and post that we'll be closing in. So what's going to happen is Vikram is going to take time to analyze all those surveys, and he's going to take a bit of 10 minutes of time. While he's doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a video that we all going to watch, And then there's a bit of questions that I have for you, which you need to answer. So before I, bring the video up, it will be great that all of you are in this space, fully concentrated. Make sure you're watching the video, having fun, but observe a lot on what's going on in the video because it's going to help with doing this. So Vikram is, I think, now officially going and looking at the survey results. So thank you so much for doing this. Let me bring up the video and let's have fun.
Your name. I got yours, Vincent, right? But I never got your. My name's Pitty, and your ass ain't talking your way out of this shit. I just want you to know. I just want you to know how sorry we are that things got so fucked up with us and Mr. Wallace. We got into this thing with the best intentions, really. I never. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? I didn't mean to do that. Please, continue. You were saying something about best intentions? What's the matter? Oh, you were finished. Oh, well, allow me to retort. What does Marcellus Wallace look like? What country you from? What in no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what? What? English, motherfucker? Do you speak it? You know what I'm saying? Describe what Marcellus Wallace looked like. What? Say what again? Say what again? You motherfucker. Say what? One more time. Black dog. He's bald. Does he look like a bitch? What? He looked like a bitch. And why you trying to fuck him like a bitch, Brent? Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Brent. You tried to teach me. And Marcellus Wallace don't like to be fucked by anybody except Mrs. Wallace. You read the Bible, Brent. Well, Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my is the Lord.
Okay. If there was some lag in the video, apologies for that. I'm going to ask one question. So I'm going to put that in the comment now. This is the first question. All right. So let's see who answers it. And then Vikram, whenever you're ready, you can come away and, let us share the results. So the question is, what element does Samuel Jackson exhibit? All right. Feel free to put in your answers in the chat. And Vikram, if you're ready, we can continue.
Sure. But I'll just give them a minute to ponder about your question.
Okay, cool.
And then, yeah. Yeah. That's what even I thought, Alan, that he exhibits a strong fire element, but his delivery, right, of the dialogue, it's all about words, and the way he delivers it, it's a lot of air. Communication is the air element. So it's a combination over here that we see of fire, which is extremely aggressive. So it's almost like saying the shadow side of fire, and a very positive side of the air element. That is where the elements are concerned. If we take the modalities, for instance, he is initiating every dialogue. He is initiating the questions, and he has a track. He knows where he wants to go with the conversation. So he's initiating it. So it's the energy of the cardinal. The approach to the conversation, to the dialogue, is very Brahma, is very cardinal, proactive. At the dualities, it is surely yang, right? I mean, there's no doubt that he's going out. His energy is outward. He's not thinking, he's not reflecting, it's all outward. So it's a very yang approach, right? So, I mean, this is fast forwarded a lot, right? So it's about understanding anything with this filter, of dividing and conquering. Yeah. So thank you, Ashish, for sharing that video clip and initiating that. I'm going to come back to the survey, and this time I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for sharing your responses. And, I just had to download the results, and my work is done with the help of this, LLMs that we have. I'll show you. Yeah. I'm going to share my screen. And okay. Right. So you see my screen. So basically, I'm using Claude.ai, and I have primed the model, right? It's basically about telling Claude what I'm going to do. So all that conversation has happened. Basically, it was 2-3 messages. And then what I'm going to do here is upload the answers. It's in a CSV file. I downloaded it from Google Forms, and I'm uploading it here. And my work is done. It analyzes the results, and it gives me a complete breakdown of how the elements are distributed. And well, I had to prime the model, but it tells me exactly what this group has as a strength, has as a weakness, and it helps me take decisions if I'm the leader of this group. Right? Think of it as understanding the team. Now, team is a very corporate term, but it can also be a family. It can be a relationship. I just have to upload the results, right? Now, imagine the power of something like this. Yeah. Now, for instance,
sorry to break you in. It would be nice to show everyone their results or something like that, so that
we can do that. Okay. But I'm going to be there's going to be a privacy concern.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So it's there. Actually, if I go up here, it's telling me exactly what each of them, what it's saying. I prefer not to do that in public. Yeah. But look at this over here, right? If this group of 10 of us were to do a project together, right? Look at the first statement here, the project completion rate. The balance of elements suggests good potential for efficient project management, with air supporting adaptability and water aiding in team cohesion. Because in this group, fire and earth is slightly low, right? Now, with something like this, I can ask questions and it will immediately tell me based on the survey results, right? It's taking Google Forms to a completely different levels. For instance, supposing I ask, which element has to be strengthened, yeah? Let me make a few typos. Let's see if it understands. Yeah. The lowest average score over here is Earth, like I was sharing. But look at the detail it gives me by just uploading a CSV file, right? I can communicate with this model, right? So over here, the lowest average score is Earth. When applying, I've applied a threshold of 7 to say I need a minimum threshold of 7 on average across the group in order for that element to be considered strong, right? Earth is the element for only one team member, while I'm looking at the third point here, while water and air were dominant for 3 members each, 3 out of 8, 9 who have submitted the survey. But you get the idea of how we can combine ancient Vedic knowledge with modern technology to understand a problem, right? Or to apply it to day-to-day work. Yeah. Now, when I get something like this, I know that the next person I bring into the team needs to embody the earth element, right? Because earth is the weakest. Yeah. In view of time, I want to open up this conversation now for questions or for feedback or, yeah, wherever. We've got 9 minutes left. And well, this is what I wanted to show you all. And I'm happy to.
Funnily, I think I was the only Earth person there.
Come again?
Funnily, I think I was the Earth person there.
You were the earth person. Okay. Yeah.
But this is really amazing. Yeah.
Oh wow, Vikram, this is. Am I here? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
you're
You're
here.
audible.
Vikram, I've been thinking about a particular statement, right? I just want you to sort of help me see this statement through, as a question.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of the things on the internet, when we're going out and designing tools and when we're designing technologies, the kind of technologies that we are ending up with are mostly sort of thought and designed and conceptualized coming from, in this case, let's say, the US and the West. And I'm not sort of saying I'm not playing the East and the West game here, but I'm just simply sort of stating a fact like the way I'm seeing it. There is no looking down or looking up at one thing. Is it possible that because the technology is being designed from one philosophy or through one culture or coming out of one way of looking at the world, skewing the kind of experiences humanity is generally going through globally, or also altering the behavior of humanity over a period of time in terms of what works, what doesn't work, what sells, what doesn't sell, what is good, what is not good, and so on and so forth? Do you believe or do you think that we have a not very good representation of all of humanity and its consciousness currently playing out on the internet, and also more precisely in technology that we're putting out on the internet?
Yeah. Great question, Shashi. So all these LLMs, right, are built on a corpus, right? It needs to be fed data in order for it to learn, training the model basically, right? So there is an inherent bias in the models based on what data was fed. Yeah? Now, if we keep feeding it Western philosophy, Western research, whatever, from one culture, there will be a cultural bias there. So it is so important for us to develop LLMs using native Indic data, from regional languages maybe, right? In order for that model to overcome that cultural bias. So generally what we do is we develop GPTs, right? ChatGPT provides this feature of developing our own GPT. Even Claude, we can develop our own project where we upload our own corpus, our own data. We have to prime the model. We cannot take what the model says blind, right? Even this, what I showed you just now, I need to apply this to each situation, and I need to train the model by conversing with it, saying, here you've made a mistake, here not. Did I answer your question, Shashi?
I guess you did. How do we sort of start building, technologies that sort of are driven at its core, basically from representing all kinds of wisdoms, all kinds of cultures? How is it even? Is it a possible thing? Because one of the things that we hope to initiate as a conversation through all of the things that we are doing here is that a large part of the reasons why we struggle today on the internet, where it's not talking to everybody or where it's not really helping all of humanity, is because it's not representing all our sort of thinkings and behaviors and belief systems and the way the whole culture itself is sort of evolved over a period of time. So how do we, as a use case, right? I mean, let us talk about some of these everyday technology that we commonly use, which is, let's say, for example, a search engine, or in this case now going to be a lot of AI in terms of how you ask questions, what kind of questions you're asking, and what kind of responses you're getting. How do we sort of move in that direction? What are your thoughts around moving better in that direction?
Well, it's all about training the model. It comes down to what corpus the model is trained on, right? And we need to make sure that it ingests our data. That's the only way to bring in the local cultural context. So, for instance, we have many Vedic texts, right, which can be uploaded as PDFs. And we ask the model to just reply based on the documents we have uploaded, to make it very context specific. For instance, in astrology, we have something called the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. It has not been trained on that scripture at all, ChatGPT, right? It knows that scripture exists, but it cannot quote that scripture. It can quote the Gita. You tell it that you want chapter 2, shloka 7, it will give you chapter 2, shloka 7. But if I ask the same thing from Brihat Parashara, it does not know. So now if I upload that, then and I ask it questions on that scripture, it takes another level completely, right? And just to answer one of the questions, that's exactly what I've done, Alan. I have trained the model using my corpus, right, in order for it to understand how to answer this. Yeah. Otherwise, like Shashi was saying, there's going to be a bias. It's going to take a Western approach. Whoever trained this model, right?
So the sort of question that I want to ask you, is there possibility for AI models to develop some kind of a shadow behavior over a period of time? Because you're feeding some of this data, which is it's dealing with subtle realms of human existence and consciousness and subconsciousness and things like that. One of the things that a lot of people are getting away with is by the fact that, okay, AI is not conscious. It cannot really replace or replicate a human experience or a human perspective about a certain something. With a lot of this data, a lot of this information coming in, is it possible for AI to develop some shadow behavior over a period of time? Just like how the internet has developed a shadow behavior, social media has developed a shadow behavior in humanity, collectively, if you look at it.
I'm not sure I have an answer to your question, but I can have a random thought.
Yeah, it's an unconference.
The models, Shashi, have been trained on past data, right? But what happens when we sit in front of a person is to be in the present moment. And that is what we bring in to a conversation as humans. Present moment awareness, which no AI model has. It's based in the past, right? What does this translate into? when I sit in front of a client, I'm tapping into what is generally known as intuition. Right? I have studied some books, I have watched some YouTube videos, that's in the past. But what's coming into the present moment is something that no AI model can beat me on.
I mean, even the scriptures have not been able to beat that. So yeah.
Cannot, right? It cannot. Now, that intuition, we also call it as listening to one's inner voice, right? Which can have a very different source than a book or a podcast or a YouTube video. Right? So that I don't know. I don't know if that is when AI becomes conscious for me. When it can listen to an inner voice, a higher voice, and tap into what something more evolved than me is telling me, AI, right? Then I would say AI is conscious. Not if it can beat me at chess. Not if it can answer a question based on past data. No, that is not consciousness for me. For me, right? But who am I?
No, like you are who you are. I think we all are representing something as a divine, piece of a divine consciousness. So you are important. Is it possible in that case for AI to develop a consciousness of its own, or intuition of its own, more than consciousness? Let's say an intuition of its own. Because is it fair to sort of say that, okay, the intuition that we are developing is also coming out of the collective experiences that we've had in the past, or have probably, the profoundness of the consciousness also sort of is completely based on the kind of experiences that you've had in the past, which sort of now comes into the play when you're talking about the present. So is it possible over a period of time for AI to sort of keep on learning from all of these experiences and to develop a very unique intuition of its own? And if it does so remotely, even if it's a possibility, then I think making sure that AI is listening to all cultures, all wisdoms, all perspectives is now even more important than before, is how I see it. Then again, who am I?
Yeah. It's a thought experiment. Let's see where this goes, right? Something or someone has to inject that spark in a machine in order for it to come alive. How do I relate this to the scriptures is Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, right? What he says is bring down the supramental in order to transform matter. That is Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, right? Now, that is what I'm being called to speak when you ask me, can AI develop consciousness? Right? It's the matter being infused with a supramental consciousness, right? Now, to Alan's question, yes, according to the Vedas, everything is made of consciousness, but there are three, right? There is sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. A machine is extremely tamasic, extremely, right? It's just metal, right? There is no movement, there is no prana in it, right? If you can bring that into the metal, into silicon, then it'll start a journey of its own.
Yeah. So, you might have already, while going through this rabbit hole, come up with so many use cases. I know time is up, but I'm going to take a couple of minutes. You might have come up, going through these rabbit holes, you might have come up with so many of these clicks, if I may call it. Oh my God, this can be used in this context, this can be used in that context, or this can be applied as a solution to this problem or whatnot. I'm specifically talking about technology in context here, right? Can you share a couple of those use cases that must have come to your mind beyond what you just have shared right now? Where else could entrepreneurs who might be listening to this or watching this could say, okay, this use case also might be something that I can lean on to these?
Yeah, Shashi. I mean, what you brought up initially, right? A dating app, right? Where we move away from. I mean, that was iconic, optical illusions. I love that. Into something more core, right? So just imagine that we have these 40 statements that people fill out on an app, and it matches people based on the elemental distribution, right? That's a game changer, right? Instead of showing photographs, I show the elements or the modalities or the dualities and say this is an interesting person for you to connect with, right? That's a fantastic use case.
I
That's
think so.
taking relationship front. Yeah.
I mean, given the fact that the biggest quest of humanity is to finding love soon after you've realized who you are, or maybe prior to that, I don't know when it comes in terms of order, but clearly one of the problems that has not been solved, right?
Yeah.
Because the harder the harder it is for you to find love, the lesser you really carry love in you when you're moving around, right? So the idea of love and compassion becomes a very distant sort of an idea because you are not experiencing it, whether it is induced by experiencing it through another person or generally having that experience in your own self. In either which ways, I think could be a problem that we could definitely look at solving. So if anybody who is watching this who wants to solve something like this, please reach out to Vikram. And also, if you
Yeah.
can reach out to me, please do reach out to me. Maybe we can sort of help
Yeah.
build something that represents, at least if not all of humanity, a section of humanity that cares about this.
Yeah.
All right, Vikram, what a pleasure. I know this has been what a privilege more than a pleasure. This has been something that I've been waiting for a long, long, long time to share the screen and this sort of conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking the time out and doing what you do. And
Thank you.
I can't wait to find my way down to Oroville and hang out and spend more time brainstorming about what all we can do. And maybe also your inputs and advice on what we are trying to build and how we can continue to sort of see what elements are on our play and what are missing and how can we balance it, and so many different perspectives I think we can gather from it.
Yeah.
So thank you. Good night. Have a lovely
Thank you,
weekend. And so
Good luck with
beautiful,
the rest of the
so
program.
graceful. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And by the way, you should hang on to the next one if you can, because Theo, who is here coming up next. Hey, Theo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or afternoon. I'm in SF in San Francisco right now. So
what? You
it's a
made
bit
it to
early.
SF? Looks like you've taken this pretty seriously now.
Yes, quite.
All right. Who knows? Maybe I'm going to be joining you very soon. That looks like. But this is another use case of what Theo has explored, right? Theo is exploring how can he train AI to sort of become a conversational therapist, something like a first aid in getting on-demand therapy support. Because one of the things that I have also seen when you have, let's say, an immediate sort of a crisis that you would like to sort of discuss it with someone or to reach out to somebody to have a conversation with, and let's say in this case somebody who's your therapist or who's your mentor or who's your coach or whatever it is, the common practice for them is to say, wait it out, sit through this, see if this is an impulsive reaction or is this a reaction that is warrants sort of more time, and how serious is this, or is all of that kind of stuff. So that to me seems like a very practical approach, no doubt, in dealing with these situations. But at the same time, I also feel like something of like a first aid, something which is an immediate, something that I can access and I can have a conversation with, helps me in so many different ways. In reflecting if my own thought and my own crisis is really a crisis which needs immediate serious attention, or if this is a passing thought that I'm simply reacting to. The adverse effect of something like this, from my perspective, is that more and more you deal with conversational therapists, even if it is an impulsive requirement, you tend to start to believe that a lot of these things are nothing but voices of your own, which is unnecessarily amplifying the crisis, where there is actually no crisis to it, and hopefully, helps you develop a more matured understanding of how your own mind is working, right? sort of the secondary or the tertiary impact of what an AI conversational therapist can probably achieve. I don't know if I'm not scientific enough to really know if this is going to happen or not, but this is what my guess says. This is what my intuition says. Theo is a very special, story which touched my heart very deeply. One of those stories that has taken a personal journey and turned it into something that can benefit humanity in a big way. He's been doing that for almost a decade now, one-on-one with select few people, by helping them deal with their own crisis, deal with their own problems, using some of what he calls as the internal family system. Now he's taking that and putting it into a way that can scale. So all his experiences, all his interactions that he's had with people is now being turned into a technology product. That's another beautiful way of taking all of your experiences and giving it form in a way that it can scale and do the work on its own. So better human is what Theo calls it. The work
Greater
that he's
human.
doing.
Greater
Greater
human.
human. Apologies. It's been a long day. This is the fourth day.
I imagine.
Apologies.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hand over the stage to him. He's going to walk us through it. Theo, one thing that I would like to listen again is how you ended on this journey. Apart from all of the other things that you want to talk about, if you can also start by sharing with us the story of how and what led you to come onto this path and onto this journey. But according to me, is going to be a great way to begin this session. So all yours, buddy. Take it over.
Great. Thank you. I might begin in a slightly different place, giving you a general pitch of what I'm working on and the problem I'm trying to solve. And then I'll share a little bit more of that personal journey that you were referring to there. So hello, everybody. My name is Theo. I'm an ex-physicist. I used to work at a particle accelerator doing some research there, turned leadership coach, therapist, and founder. After 20,000 hours in the mental health and self-development space, I may have found a path that could disrupt a $1 trillion industry, and I've already built a working prototype. Now, there are 1 billion people in the world with mental health challenges right now, and that is a lot of suffering. But at the end of the day, all of us are suffering and limited by our psychology in some way. We're all less than we could be. What if we could get access to the settings of our mind? What if we were able to intentionally go inside and shape ourselves into who we want to be, into that greater version of ourselves? We will never have enough therapists or coaches to help everybody on this journey. And a lot of people who are trying to solve this with AI therapists, I think are actually going about it the wrong way, because they're trying to substitute real therapists. They're trying to create AI that simulates a human relationship. And I fundamentally believe this is the wrong way to go. I think that trying to pretend like a machine actually cares for you is not the way to go. That's a dystopian future in my mind. What we need is a solution that is scalable and affordable, because there are billions of people that could benefit from this. We need a solution, particularly one that is able to sidestep all of the taboos that are blocking people from getting the support that they need. And we're not going to do that by branding this as therapists, right? There's too much cultural resistance to that. We need something different. We need a way for technology to be used as an enhancer to our own ability for self-healing, not as a substitute for a real therapist. And so, in fact, I would say, if I were to answer, can AI therapist help us heal? I would say that sort of, yes, they can, but that's not what I'm building. I'm not building an AI therapist, and I think that's not the way to go. I think it is better to build something that absolutely enhances our own self-healing potential. So what is it? What is it that I'm building? I'm going to be sharing this with you. if somebody could help me with a share screen.
Yeah, Theo, you just need to share your screen and I'll add that onto the stage.
Yes. Okay.
There's an option called as present share screen right at the bottom.
So let me start with this. And can you see that?
Nope.
Nope.
Not.
Okay, so that's not working.
It's okay, you can take it down. The option is right below. There's a present share screen option right there.
Okay, I have to upload them. Okay, give me a second.
I think you're using the slides, but the share screen, you don't need to upload them. You can just share your window screen or anything like that.
Yes. Okay. For some reason, it's not showing. It's okay. Here we go. Huh.
Do you wish to? I mean, I think I can help you out. Why don't you email
Yeah,
me?
no, it's saying that I don't have permission to.
That's very weird. We've been having speakers who've been sharing.
Yeah.
Why don't you email it to me and I'll share it right away. Yeah, sorry folks for this trouble. Theo is having some difficulties and we should get this sorted in a minute.
Okay, I'm uploading these and seeing if this works. The usual last minute glitches.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about your journey till then? And, share.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, here we are.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you see the slides? Fantastic. Great. So, what I'm building is Greater Human. It's a chisel for the mind so that we can sculpt ourselves into who we want to become. And it's a telescope for psychology so that we can peer deeper into the mind than we've been able to do before. Greater Human will become humanity's tool to sculpt our own minds into greater versions of ourselves. And notice I'm not just focusing on the people with mental health challenges. I'm focusing on our tool for everybody to be able to shift ourselves into that greater version. Okay. So it looks like it's going to be a little bit different than what I had planned. Ashish, I think I might have to send you these by email because it doesn't seem to be doing this properly. So
it's found its own form. Okay, no worries. You can say it.
Yeah. So I'll send you those by email.
No worries. Sorry, guys. We just have to wait on.
Well, in a way, it's preparing Theo for complications in the Bay Area.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah.
What are you doing in the Bay Area, by the way?
Well, I won a Wells Fargo Innovation Award, and I went to deliver some workshops for their incubator in Colorado,
Nice.
and that ended up paying for a whole trip to the States. So I thought I'd extend my stay. It's been wonderful here in SF. People are so open-minded and ambitious, and really enjoy an adventure. So it's been a lot of great connections.
How did folks in Colorado take this? Did you talk about Greater Human?
Yes, I have found some people who are incredibly interested. I've found an engineer, potentially a CTO, and potentially some investor contacts. So it's been great, even just
Were you in Boulder by any chance when you were in Colorado?
Sorry?
Were you in Boulder?
I was in Denver, and then I was in Boulder.
Yeah, because the folks in Boulder and Denver seem to be very, well versed with some of these things that we're talking about, more than the people in San Francisco, I heard. I don't know what your experience is.
Yes. Well, here in San Francisco, there's a mix. There's a mix. And Boulder definitely has its own kind of special approach. Have you received that, Ashish?
Yep, I'm bringing it up.
Great.
Okay, I'm taking off. Bye.
If you could have it in presenter mode, that'd be great. All right, clicking next. Next, fantastic. Let's stop there. So, if we could go back just one. So, Greater Human, we're here to enhance everyone's ability for mental restructuring. What I've built is a conversational AI that's able to induce deep altered states, deep states of compassion, of curiosity, of calm. And from these deeper states, we're able to unlock people's own abilities for self healing. I've built a prototype, it works. I've taken 14 people through a beta program of 2 months. And the feedback is that for several of them, they're able to have these deep experiences of altered states like compassion, like calm, and they're able to have incredible self-healing experiences. So that has given me the confidence to go ahead with this and go even deeper. And so I've been able to find additional team members to be able to scale this further for our first commercial pilot, which will come in September, October. Next. So it's also guided by the most detailed map of the mind in the world. This is not a map of the brain. This is a map of the mind, of your psychology. And we're able to do this because of because of the nature of the conversations that you're having with this AI. Every part of the conversation, it's able to map out how different psychological drives are relating to each other. And we're able to build this map while still respecting the privacy and security of the most sensitive data for every individual. This is a telescope for psychology and will open up an immense new space for innovation in psychological techniques. Next. And of course, we're doing deep work, and deep work requires often some level of human connection. We're not avoiding that, but we're doing it in a way that is scalable. And so we bring together small tribes of peers who are all going through the same journey, who can support each other on that journey. All of this, next, on a journey to rise from healing to thriving, so that we can all become that greater version of ourselves. Great. So let's pause there. Can we stop the slides? How did I come to this? Well, I've spent a long time in the self-development world. If we could take out the slides, Ashish. Fantastic. Thank you. So back in 2019, first of all, I've been a coach for almost 10 years, coach and a therapist for a long time. And I've helped many clients, hundreds, thousands of people with these techniques. However, it wasn't until 2019 that I discovered the power of certain techniques that went even deeper into our subconscious. In 2019, I started contracting something very strange. It began as insect bites, or what looked like insect bites, on my legs, and they didn't go away. They got bigger and bigger, and eventually they started opening up, and I had open holes, open wounds in my legs. I didn't know it at the time, but I had contracted flesh-eating bacteria, a very rare flesh-eating bacteria. There's only 1 or 2 cases a year of this in the UK, so I really won the lottery with that one. At exactly the same time that I found those bites and they started opening up, I found a particular method just by reading a book called Internal Family Systems Therapy, which is a way of working with different parts of ourselves. It's got nothing to do with family necessarily. It's about the parts inside of us and how those create a system or family system within ourselves. So took many months to figure out what it was. And eventually when we did, I was called into the hospital right away. And I ended up doing months of chemotherapy to try and cure this bacteria. Chemotherapy with very heavy antibiotics. I lost 10 kilos. I was nauseous a lot of the time, a lot of brain fog. And yet, throughout this, after spending 2 weeks in the hospital so that I could set everything up to do my own chemo twice a day at home with the IV, I remember getting back to my house and looking out from the balcony, looking out at the moon, and taking this moment to step into some bigger thing within myself. And I had just the deepest moment of gratitude. I had such a deep moment of gratitude, feeling everything, feeling all the emotions, feeling the fear, the danger, the wondering whether I would live or die. The doctors told me that they couldn't know whether it would take 6 months or a year and a half. It wasn't clear whether I might have to maybe even amputate certain parts if the antibiotics didn't work. And if the antibiotics did work, the antibiotics themselves could potentially damage kidneys. I could have spontaneous rupture of my tendons. It did damage my hearing. So there's a lot of consequences to this treatment. And in spite of all that, here I was standing, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for it all. How is that possible? And I realized that all of these techniques that I've been practicing for the past 7 months were helping me step into a bigger container, were helping me identify with something greater, something bigger than just any one of these emotions. And turns out these same techniques, this ability to identify with something else, to identify with a bigger container, is at the core of many methodologies that are able to create a level of healing that is much deeper and much faster than some of the regular talking therapy that people are maybe familiar with. And so today, I would love to share with you exactly the kinds of techniques that not only helped me work through one of the darkest times of my life where I might have died and actually relate to that with a deep sense of gratitude, but also the same tools that have helped hundreds of my clients heal much faster, and the same tools that I've now been able to automate with AI in order to be able to heal potentially millions of people. And so, Ashish, could we come back with those slides? Great. So for everybody listening, I'd like you to take a moment to speak with yourself. Take a moment to describe a time you felt conflicted, fighting against yourself, or with parts of you pulling you in different directions. We've all experienced that. We've all experienced times where perhaps I have a goal. Maybe I want to be healthier. I want to go to the gym more. I want to eat healthier. And then we end up doing the exact opposite. I want to work more. I want to work less. And then we do the exact opposite. Why is that? It doesn't make sense. If we were a singular being inside of ourselves, then every time we have a goal, we would just enact it. But we can see that actually there are several different goals going on, some of which we're conscious of, some of which we're not, that are fighting against each other inside of us, that pull us in different directions. And this is what I'd like you to reflect on. What are those different directions that you get pulled in? What are those different drives or programs inside of you that are pulling you in different directions and are sometimes in conflict? Let's take just 30 seconds to reflect on that. And if anybody would like to come on stage to share what they're noticing within themselves, please do, because that would be a great example for everybody else. So we'll give that 30 seconds. Whoever would like to come up, please do.
Yep. If if anybody wants to come on stage, people joining on StreamYard, please say yes, and I'll invite you to the studio, and you can come and share as well.
Okay, so we'll pause it there. I will now give you an example myself. Ashish, if we could have those slides again. Great. Yes, next slide. So to explain how this works, we can use our imagination to make some of these patterns, these parts within ourselves, we can make them more salient, we can make them more graspable. Because oftentimes what we can experience is, oh, I know I have this pattern, I don't like this pattern. But then we sort of fall asleep and we just end up doing that thing again. Oh, I've overeaten again, let's say. And that ends up creating, let's go back a couple yet. Let's not click those yet. So you might find that as a result of that, you've fallen asleep a little bit, and then you wake up again and you realize, damn it, I did that thing again. There's this reactiveness that is really core to our psychology. So how do we change that? Well, we can use imagination to start to notice that reaction in our body, in our mind. We create visuals around it, we create language around it, and we're able to start to speak with these parts. So what is the structure of the mind? Here are the structures of the parts that we can look at. We might notice that when we're young, it's difficult for us to process hard emotions, especially negative ones. And so what our mind does, in order to keep those difficult emotions away, it sections them off. So for me, when I was young, I was 6 years old, my father wanted to take me volunteering. He took us to an orphanage of young kids with mental health problems, and I experienced way too much suffering. That part of me, that little child, got sectioned off because it was too difficult, too hard emotions. So clicking next. So my mind, in order to keep that out of the way, my mind had to create a defense mechanism, a whole set of behaviors to stop me from feeling those difficult emotions. And so this created another part of me that's very existential, that likes to zoom out into the world and see everything from a distance. But the consequence is that it disconnects me from emotions and disconnects me from other people. Next. Now, we don't only create parts or defense mechanisms related to that. I then create behaviors about my behaviors, programs about my programs. And so there's another part of me that then gets critical and goes, you're disconnected, you're not feeling alive, shame on you, right? So I have this self-critical part. Next. But then that self-critical part triggers some sense of not enoughness. Oh, I'm not doing enough, or I'm not connected enough to the world. I'm not proactive enough. And so because this then creates another wound internally, this triggers yet another defense mechanism. Click next. And so I might have a defensive part that reacts to this self-criticism. Some of us might recognize these dynamics within ourselves. The self-critic is a very common pattern. And so what can we do? It's very difficult to change the system by staying inside of it. What we need to do is step out. We need to start to identify with something bigger than this. Next. What if we identified with the container of all of this experience? And there are several different methods, which we won't have much time to go into today, but there are many different methods that enable us to identify with this bigger container. And from there's a whole set of processes that can allow us to restructure and heal all of these younger parts of ourselves, and to help all of these protecting mechanisms relax and evolve to become more adaptable and more effective. So I'd love to leave you all with just a quick exercise just here at the end. Ashish, if you could skip the next slide and just go to the one after. These are a bunch of qualities that we can find when we step into that bigger container: curiosity, calm, compassion. Next slide. Here's what I'd like you all to try. Take a moment to think of a difficult emotion: anger, fear, shame, annoyance, whatever is an emotion that you have experienced recently. Take a moment to feel that emotion and say, I am emotion. I am angry. I am sad. Repeat that to yourself a few times and notice how you can connect to that emotion. Really allow yourself to sink into that emotion. I am. I am. Notice what that's like. Notice the physiological impact. Notice the memories that are coming up. Notice maybe how the anger is really getting there or the emotion is really getting there. Next. Now I'd like you to try and step out of that. Instead of identifying with the emotion, instead of saying, I am this emotion, I'd like you to now identify with a thing that is aware of the emotion and say, I'm aware that a part of me is angry. I'm aware that a part of me is sad. Now try and repeat that to yourself. Great. Curious to hear anybody's reactions. Please do come up on stage to share what you think of that. It might be a small impact because we're only going into it in a small way. But you may have found even the tiniest little shift into a sense of having a little bit more space. Because if I am anger, then my whole experience only contains that. But if I am aware of a part of me that is angry, and I'm also aware of a part of me that is sad, and I'm aware of a part of me that is grateful, and I'm aware of a part of me that is lots of other things, I am now identifying with a much bigger container to a much wider experience.
Let me jump in myself.
Yeah.
I think I've been dealing with the angry and sad part of me from quite some time. And I think what you showed is exactly, I've already gone to the awareness stage, right? But it's been a lot of conditioning and healing and conditioning to be aware of why am I angry about, why am I sad about, and it's been mostly due to a few decisions and few paths which I've taken, which is a little bit unconventional if I look at it from a very societal standpoint, right? And that is what is mostly made me angry some of the time, but it has also given me the fire as well along with it. And sadness comes because of most what society wants is the money, right? Money defines who you are and what it comes with. And I guess through taking this path, it's been it's always working hard for the money, right? But it's also pursuing what I want to pursue. So it's been that journey, I guess. And now I'm aware of few parts which is really which can go chaotic, but but because I'm aware of it, I know how to control it, right? And it doesn't control me, so it's very amazing.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. It's exactly that step. It's the step from being controlled by this thing and that part of you taking over and taking the driving wheel and changing that relationship to these behaviors where we are now aware of them and we're able to relate to them. And now these behaviors, they see us as the leader instead of taking over the driving wheel. So I think we're already at time. And so I might just share a couple of last points and then I'll leave it back to you. This kind of therapy, IFS, it might sound a little bit strange for people who haven't encountered it before. But in a recent study with a small group of PTSD veterans, it showed that after just 3 months of therapy, 16 sessions, 92% of them no longer met the PTSD criteria. And after almost a decade of having experimented with many, many, many different approaches and having spoken to thousands of people about their experiences, there's a lot of suggestion from my own direct experience and people I've talked to that this approach is much faster and much more effective and creates much deeper permanent changes than normal talk therapy, for example, like CBT, although we haven't done full-on studies to compare the two side by side.
Mhm.
And so having been able to automate it, this is only one of the many methods that we can use to shift identification and to enable us to create that restructuring of the mind. And so I'm very excited to be sharing with this you all. I'm looking for investors who are aligned with this mission to create something that could impact and be a tool for all of humanity. And particularly, I'm looking for a CTO who would love to join this team. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Theo, couple of questions.
Yes.
So what is the how is the technology piece coming in here, and how does the technology work, the user experience of it, how are you sort of imagining it, and if you also can touch on the area of security in terms of how safe is it for us to feed this level of intimate information into something like an AI, and what sort of precautions should one take when somebody is doing that, or have you already taken any precautions at the system design end? Anything that you can share around there?
Yeah, totally. So for now, the base model, we're using the OpenAI one, and you can pick several security questions to make sure that it's not using that particular data for training the AI further. So we can make sure that it's not doing that. When it comes to, obviously, we still benefit from being able to see the conversation that clients are having. And I've developed a way to anonymize those transcripts so that it maintains people's privacy in what they're creating. And in particular, we actually don't need to have the information of specifics of an event that happened in people's lives. We just need to understand how different psychological drives are relating to each other. You could see it from that image that I showed. Sometimes we have different drives that are attacking each other, and we need all of that inner fighting to relax before we're able to create healing. And that's all we need to know, to be able to build a very detailed map of how your psychology works. We don't need to understand the exact events that created that. And so we're able to still collect very useful data, but not have to maintain or save any of the more intimate details. So
Beautiful.
what this looks like from a technology point of view is I've used my decade of experience to train the AI and create several different boundaries to it that enable it to follow this process. And all you do is close your eyes, talk to the AI talks back to you, and it guides you through that.
Awesome. All the best. Hope you find your CTO and the money that you need in San Francisco. And we'll stay in touch and keep tracking what's going on. And all the best, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time and coming out and sharing the story with us. And thank you for doing what you do. Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.
All right. I'm going to bring up our next speaker, Komal Choksi. Choksi, how do we say this?
It's Komal Choksi. Hi.
Choksi. Hi.
Yes.
Komal is specifically working on sort of, Komal is so ahead of the curve. And also, I think, responding to, the demographic realities in a way, right? A lot of us are here talking about how do we design spaces for regular cities, like how we had a speaker yesterday, Itai, talk about conscious cities, or how do you sort of make a small yoga studio more conscious or a living room more conscious, and so on and so forth. Komal's work is around how do you sort of design spaces for post-war, kind of environments. Because the people who are coming out of these situations are dealing with some extreme situations, when it comes to PTSD, when it comes to depression, when it comes to many other spectrum-related, whatever mental health situations that we're talking about. What kind of cities do we need to build? If you have spent some time in Germany, or if you have lived in cities like, say, Berlin, you will realize that post-war, a lot of things had to be built so fast so that people will not end up on the streets and the cold weather conditions will not end up taking people's lives. So they went on and built a lot of industrial psych and a kind of buildings and infrastructures all over, right? And when you come to 2024, which is almost like, 60, 70, 80 years post-war, these buildings still stand, but they still do carry a bit of a melancholy in the way they interact with you and the way the city makes you feel. If you take the streets of Berlin, which where I used to, one of my favorite cities, you can never escape the fact that there was a war that had destroyed that place, right? I mean, and then even the regular experience of the city is very dark and heavy, and you can feel it. So I'm curious to know how Komal does this. Komal and her team does this. So Komal is now talking to us out of Italy, Milan, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so all yours. I'm going to drop off the stage now, and I'm going to listen to what you have to say. All yours, Komal. All the best.
Yes, thank you so much, Sashi. Uh, yes, hi everyone. I am Komal from India, west part of India actually, Gujarat, and I'm an architect, and I did my graduation. I did my specialization in neuroscience applied to architectural design from Venice UAV University, and the the idea that spaces can actually affect us is what got me into this into this intersection of neuroscience and architecture. But now further moving into the profession, I think and what I want to do is how to create positive impacts on how to create positive impacts on the built environment, on the people and their health and well-being. So I would just like to share a few of the slides that would like briefly speak about um, the correlation of architecture and moods and behaviors and feelings and emotions, and then we can later go towards how trauma could affect a person's life, and how architecture can actually contribute to the healing of that trauma. So I think I'll start presenting.
There's an option called as present, and share screen, and that should work fine.
Share screen. Is there a possibility to share a PDF directly? No?
Yeah, that is. I mean,
I don't think
if
so,
you
I guess.
if you open the, is it the same PDF that you sent me?
No. This is different one. Maybe I can share the entire screen and then I can open up the PDF
Yeah,
that I'm looking for.
yeah.
Perfect. Yes. Can you see my screen? Can you confirm?
All right.
Okay. Okay. So let's say we interact with our built environment every day. We interact with them on a daily basis, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously. We have like a conversation with the spaces that we inhabit, right? We have an innate response to the physical environment around us even before any cognitive processing occurs. This means from the day we are born, the spaces around us affects us biologically, affects the biological, emotional, social, cultural, and economical potentials of us. It heightens the bodily responses or calms the bodily responses. This means the shapes, the form, the texture, the light, the intensity, everything, the view, all of it affects the bodily responses, and it's on how they are done is what decides if it's heightening the senses or calming the senses. Imagine yourself in a space where there is green around you, like a park, a garden, or maybe in a religious place or inside a hospital. How would you feel? You instantly like if you give yourself a moment or two, you will know how it feels. Like if you have been to one of those, I'm very sure these are very common places that everybody has been to, but like you are able to like relate on a very subconscious level about the feelings of the spaces around you, or maybe you can relate it to the space where you are currently sitting, where you're currently listening to this session, and you chose that place for a reason. It could be one of the reasons could be acoustics or good lighting, outdoor view, accessibility, comforting. It could be anything, but you chose that place for a reason, and you know it well how you want that place to be, because each space elicits behaviors, feelings, and emotions. This leads to the attachment of the place, which we call place attachment, and this could be something that you are attached to, even furniture of that place, or the objects within that place, or the people, or the ambience, the atmosphere of the place. It's what creates an attachment, right? Attachment with the people, with the city, and this is because our senses interacts directly and indirectly with our surrounding environment. Now, because the body and the environmental elements, when interact, they create experiences which eventually creates emotional connection, and that is what is stored in our memory, and we can relive it as and when we want. But what happens to our mind and body during a conflict? We have been watching the news, and everywhere, like since couple of years, some tragic events have been happening around the places, and that was like the point where I decided, like, how as a professional architect can I contribute to the to such situation. So yeah, so apart from uh, the trauma, like the trauma maybe because of it is supposed to be, maybe it's because of a war exposure. So during that, there could be infrastructure damage, physical injury, loss, traumatic experience, and much more major repercussions other than social and economical factors, where survival needs and coping mechanisms take precedence, and memory and timeline wraps, and the body dysregulates. It impairs behavioral and physiological responses to threats. Emotional regulation becomes suppressed. Because of all of this, a person going through traumatic experience faces either depression, disconnection, disassociation, anxiety, aggression, impulsivity. Depends on individual to individual how the trauma has affected them. But there has been a study on mental health of individuals going through post traumatic stress due to war, and these are the negative states of emotions that has been underlined by the healthcare, and which affects recovery, productivity, personal and social life for sure, even in the coming years. For this, we have mental health caregivers such as psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, physiologists, self help groups. But can urban planners, architects, and interior designers play their roles as caregivers too? Was the main question, the curiosity that got me into this. Can we design built environment that can enhance, promote the healing process? Definitely, I don't see architecture as something that heals a person, but it definitely and for sure promotes the healing process. So to study that, it's very important to understand the environmental risk factors that have been contributing to a person's experience, such as unclear path, unrecognizable points, visual spatial complexity, narrow pathway, cluttered spaces, cramped spaces, no boundaries, visual noise, disruptive sounds, uncomfortable smell, place of tragedy. All of this brings anxiety, depression, and all the negative states addressed before. So, what could be the precautionary design interventions to mitigate those risk factors, to bring in the pro social behavior within individuals, and help them get better along with their medical services. So for this, we can think about sense of familiarity within the redevelopment of post-war. This could be through visual entry-exit points, recognizable path, clear signage, attachment points, comfortable design elements. We can also think about sense of security, like visibility, concealment, flexible movement, secure boundaries, protective elements. We can also think about sense of calm and control, where we let them connect with nature. Public art intervention could be one of the strong intervention, as well as sensorial experience. And most important is the sense of empowerment. To get back to their social and communal life, sense of empowerment is very important as a part of or as a driver of motivation. So personal space, shared space, as well as multifunctional space are very important while planning a city or a space. These are all the supportive built environments to reconnect people with place and place with people post-war redevelopment. Along with these, restorative environments are very important. Like there's a theory by Kaplan's which suggests that mental fatigue and concentration can be improved by the time spent in or looking at the nature. This is directly linked to attention restoration. While there's another theory about Ulrich in the late 1900s that proposes that natural environments promote recovery from stress, while urban environments tend to hinder the same process. So, inclusion of water elements, green spaces, spaces for people, for introverts, extroverts, the inclusive spaces is what I term it, is very important in a public space as well as in an individual space to create a positive impact on health and well-being of the people. And so it is very important that how we interact with our built environment every day. There are some advancements in this field as well. Um, Understanding, like during my course of neuroscience applied to architectural design, I came across this measurement methods to measure all these to measure all this factors of how spaces are actually affecting a person. These can be done with observational studies to assess behaviors and interactions, with environmental data to check noise levels or crowd density, through surveys and interviews, with having subjective feedback on usability and identify individuals' expectations, through ecological momentary assessments, wearing sensorable wearable devices that can check heart rates and everything, and the physiological measurement tools. This can give a basic idea of how a person is feeling at that moment, and like a kind of a measurement tool to begin the scientific analysis and the behavioral analysis of a person with respect to space. Lastly said by Sir Winston Churchill, we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. And this is a very beautiful thought. And with this, I would like to end the presentation. Thank you. And yeah, that's it.
So there's a question. Would you like to take a question?
Yes, of course, of course.
So the question's on the screen, if you can see it. How can we create a therapy space more healing, which is located in a normal building?
I'm unable to actually
Can you hear me?
here on the screen. There's something, I don't know what's going on.
Can you hear me? Komal?
Yes, there's a glitch. There's a glitch. I don't know. Okay, it's okay.
So the question is, if you can hear me,
Yes.
how can we create a therapy space more, more healing, which is located in a normal building? So basically, how do you create a good therapy space in a building that is normal, which is not designed
Mhm.
specifically for anything to do with healing? How would you do that?
Yes.
Retrofitting it in a way, I think.
Yes, retrofitting maybe this the sensorial experience. Like for first and foremost, it's very important to create a multisensorial experience within a space. Like doesn't matter if it's a new building or already a built building. Um Keeping in mind all the five senses and how to stimulate and activate them is very important for a therapeutic experience. Are you are we aligned? Because my screen is still stuck and I'm unable to see you. So
We can see you. We can see you. Keep talking. It's all right. We
okay,
can hear
perfect.
you as well.
Okay, perfect. So integration of all those elements, such as the type of texture or the light quality or the acoustic that needs to be designed within the space. I think it's very much it's very much to be discussed with the clients that is going to use their space, because it's all about user specific spaces, not even user centric. When it comes to individual therapy space, it's more about user centric, and incorporating multisensorial experience is a great way to start with, and then not and then having a post occupancy evaluation to keep on improving the space based on experiences is what I believe in doing in practice.
So, while I was thinking about it, the ancient wisdom talks about changing the space within in order to create a healing environment. And psychology sometimes talks about changing the space outside in order to create a healing environment. If you sort of go back to things like the Zen design principles, or when you look at the Wabi Sabi, which is another sort of a design, a very sort of a profound design aesthetic principles, if you may call it as, or even if you look at it as the Vastu Shastra that sort of comes out of places like India. How do you see all of these coexisting in a way? Because someone like you who is crossing across to the other side of the world, working on what you're working on and studying about neuroscience, and also having a fair bit of understanding coming from the East, I would like to know, how is it possible to integrate both these principles and thought processes into designing a space? Have you
Okay.
had the opportunity to do something like that?
Okay. I have been thinking about this because, as you mentioned, like coming from West and the Eastern, living across the country, like we definitely have Vastu Shastra, as you mentioned, and we have like a lot of other design principles from all over the world, like mentioned all of those. I definitely question this myself, being a believer of scientific integration of what I studied from neuroscience, and for me, based on my personal understanding so far, um, the, the, the ancient principles talks a lot or more talks a lot more about social psychological well-being, yes, through space, materials and everything, but it has an additional layer of energies, and as well as the cosmic energies is what I'm talking about. So that is not something that uh, the science is working towards. The science is more working towards at this moment about how the body is reacting right now in this moment, and how that can be further enhanced and improved. So I'm still it's a very interesting it's a very interesting knowledge base that we have, and I'm personally also trying to integrate and trying to work towards this, where I can, in my practice personally, I would like to bring both of them together and process it. So I'm working on that actually. It's a very interesting part uh, and that you observed as
Yeah,
well.
good. All the best. Keep working on it, and hope you will probably be able to come up with a new innovative idea of bridging these two, because I think both are important. One, in order to
Yes.
create a safe space within, you need to have a space on the outside that sort of triggers or catalyzes that healing process. And at the same time, also understanding how the internal system works for you to be able to receive the healing only amplifies and enhances that experience, right? So I'm wishing you all the best. Thank you so much for your time coming and sharing this with us. And I'll hopefully, see you at some point in our journey of building sacred
Yes, for
startups.
sure. Thank you so much for
All right.
this platform. And
Ciao. Take care. All right. I'm going to bring in the next speaker, dear friend of mine, Erika Bassani. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Ashish. How are you?
Good. How are you? Okay. We've been talking about so many different things. We've been talking about solving problems for mental health challenges. We've been talking about technologies for altering states of consciousness. We're talking about food and nutrition. We're talking about so many of these different things. One of the things that I sort of experienced during my research process and during my personal seeking process is that the ecosystem of seeking, the ecosystem of self-realization needs so much help and support in a way. I'm not talking about trying to advance the wisdom itself or the knowledge itself. What I'm talking about here is an ability to access this information. Say, for example, when travel industry was starting to sort of get built up on the internet, there was so much infrastructure that sort of got created on the internet for people to be able to understand travel better, where to go, how to process the information, how to access those information, what kind of places to live at, and you get the idea. When you are going on a travel, say for example, for a self-realization journey, you look around and see the kind of infrastructure that exists for you to accelerate your realization process, or to generally make the process a lot more convenient than the way it is right now in terms of infrastructure and whatnot. So I've been sort of thinking about this a lot in terms of how do we make the seeking infrastructure better, the seeking ecosystem better, and things like that. And that's sort of when I bumped into Erika. And Erika is working on a very beautiful project where she basically goes around, talks to a lot of different people around the world, and throws light on what kind of a seeking experiences a woman goes through, right? What kind of realities, what kind of challenges, and what kind of problems does a woman seeker goes through, and turning that project into a lot of information, and hopefully in the future building a lot of different layers of sort of, I don't know, maybe services, products. I don't know what all she plans to do. I'm going to now shut up, jump off and I'm going to hand it over to Erika Bassani. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to start by showing the little video. Can you do that for me, Ashish, please? A little video with some glimpses of what I've been doing. Thank you. Do you hear the audio? Because I don't.
Ashish, I don't think we can hear the audio.
Oh, that's a pity. Well,
hang on a minute. Let's see if it's fixing it.
I can read it. You know what? I can read it. There are subtitles and...
Are you not able to hear it? Okay, let me continue playing it. Just a minute.
Being and also become love.
Yeah.
It is not enough that we think of love and want to be
Ashish, can you replay Ashish from the beginning, please?
Yeah, Shashi, let me be on the stage. Thank you.
In Buddhism, wisdom is female, right? Like Sophia. Yes. And that intuitive intelligence which women have, we should appreciate, right? And not try to model ourselves on a paradigm which already is threatening the world.
When we want love, then we must be love, loving being, and also become love. It is not enough that we think of love and want to be loved or things like that. That is over. That does not work enough.
And when you surrender your ego and you have conversations with the divine, then the activation of the energy happens. The divine is not a human, someone sitting with dress. It's not so. The divine is energy, so it can be invoked. The conversations with attention, with a genuine seeking in the heart, you can invoke.
This is this pure, unadulterated grace.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. It was the audio evidently was going a bit not aligned with the with the visual, but just to give you an idea, I have been interviewing female masters of different spiritual traditions. I started last year in Rishikesh in India, and I interviewed 9 female masters of from Tibetan Buddhism to Taoism to Hinduism, and then back to Italy, yoga teachers and Christian nuns and all of that. So the first 9 interviews, I wrote a book about it, which is going to be published soon in Italy. And then from there, I felt, after meeting these wonderful, inspiring ladies, I really felt I was on a big journey, on a journey of discovering of something that it's hard to talk about. Because, of course, we know there has already been a lot done around the divine feminine and the sacred feminine and women's spirituality. But the theme is not at all exhausted by the researches that have been so far done. Also, for me, it's very important to underline that the project I'm working on, Women Awakening Project, it is called, is important also for men. It's not just, it's not a feminist, let's say, movement restricted to that. It's really open also for men and for women. So my need in the beginning was to really understand how and if the experience that women have while they are seeking God or enlightenment or whatever they call it, how is that experience from within, because I was wondering, how can it be the same? Women have a different way of experiencing emotions and many other things. So, of course, the divine has no gender. But women exploring the divine, I felt, they might have something, something slightly different to say to what we are used to. And so I embarked on this journey. After the book, as I said, I felt I was on a big adventure, and I started thinking, what about video interviewing these masters? Because many of my friends and family, when I was talking about what I was doing, they were not really understanding. So I felt maybe the video gives a more clear and more immediate idea of this. So there would be a lot to say. The project is a very big vision. So for now is collecting these voices, which is basically collecting this wisdom of women across traditions. I think it's very important to cultivate the interreligious approach, Even if me myself, I have practiced mainly in Buddhism, but it's very important, and also we are inquiring in these video interviews also about the divine feminine, but also about many other things, like how to really embody the divine in the daily life, how to generate change in our environment if it happens. It's, of course, it's not necessary, but many of these women, they do impact the reality around them. So it's kind of really an exploration and a research on this. And my goal is to travel basically everywhere, to interview these female masters. And I feel there is something, I feel like there is a big treasure underneath this search. And each one of them is literally like one facet of a diamond. And the beauty of each story, each individual path, moving, the way each person, each one of us really moves towards the divine, is such a personal, incredible journey that I am happy to honor in any way the journey of each one of us towards the divine, however it is. And so on one side is that, and on the other side is really looking at what all of them are pointing towards. Because of course there are many differences and one big commonality, which is the love for truth and how to cultivate that. So I'm going to share just a few points of what I think has emerged so far. For example, I really liked Karin Martin, Taoist priestess I met in Rishikesh by total chance. And she, of course, brought all the Taoist discourse on balance between the opposites. So I asked her in particularly about the polarity between masculine and feminine. And she really was talking about the feminine as a soft force, which is actually the strongest force in the universe. So I found this very, very beautiful because, of course, we live in a society that encourages, I would say, the strong, sometimes brutal force, which is like self-affirming, and well, it sprouts from the ego, let's say, that type of force. While the force she was pointing to, which is very present in the Tao Te Ching, there are many references to the feminine as being kind of the Tao itself, the way reality unfolds, contains a lot of this feminine principle, which is how gentleness and kindness are maybe not if we look, if we have a short vision, we don't see that. But if we see a long vision, and if we think about nature, and she brought the example of a drop falling on a rock on the same spot with the gentleness of water will create, a little hole in that rock, and she was like, this is the soft power I'm talking about, which is also the soft power that helps us in meditation without wanting to achieve something, without wanting to go faster to some goal. No, it's this like letting go of any expectations and any timeline to really open to what is there, what's present. So this is one. And also I would like to share Jitsuma Tenzin Palmo, the Tibetan Buddhist nun. You might be aware of her. She spent 12 years in the Himalaya in a cave on her own, on retreat. And she told me it's important to have female role models, because we never had. So I know it sounds like a bit annoying, you know, this discourse, but we didn't have. So we are used to male role models or female role models, which are a bit sometimes aggressive, you know, because they had to fight a lot more than anybody else to get where they are, you know. So we have this example of an aggressive leadership, for example. But now things are changing. There is a lot about, you know, how to bring really this softness also into the leadership. So how to really step into the power of being a woman with the qualities of the heart, which are, you know, feminine and are also present in men. Also, men are discovering this, that they can be emotional, they can be vulnerable, they can open to all of this side of themselves and open to trust. So yeah, these are just two little pearls I'm happy to share with you, and there is much more. So if you want to know more, you go on the website www.womenawakeningproject.com. That's it.
Awesome. So, you know, you talked about a lot of these leaders that you found them by accident, right? Or
Nothing
rather
happens by accident, as you know. But but I
in
see what you mean.
In a larger sense, I agree. But in a transactional sense, it happens, you know,
it happened by
sort
accident. Yeah.
Is there a way that, you know, this project that you're working on can help reduce, or rather at least help people find this not by accident but by design? Is this something that this project can do? Like, you know, are people reaching across to you and asking you, hey, I want to talk to this person, or I want to understand more about the divine feminine, or I'm looking for a, you know, a woman master who I can speak with? Because including for me, sometimes I feel like I like, you know, very recently I'm in Dharamshala, by the way, and I was walking around and I had to collect some, you know, buy some painting, and I was buying some painting, and I spoke to somebody, and she happened to be a Buddhist. She was in a Buddhist nunnery, and then she came out, and now she's running a small painting shop. And the conversation immediately became very interesting, a lot more. You know, she said things to me that I had to hear. And I had gone to a couple of other male masters before that, and then none of them actually spoke about anything that she spoke about, which really did a lot of difference to me. So what I'm trying to understand here is that, yes, you're so right about the fact that when you look into the world of seeking, most of the time we are gravitated towards the masculine masters and very little towards the feminine masters. And we also don't know how to find them.
Sure.
We don't know where they are. We don't know how to find them. We don't know how to access them, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So I'm curious to understand if your project can help reduce some of that friction points.
Yeah, I guess now we are really in the early stage of development, but we want to grow into that. So now I feel it more still. We are researching, we are gathering forces, we are building our network. But of course, the goal is one day, you know, to have the possibility to be really of service. And all of these masters, of course, they want to be of service. So they are, and create a powerful network.
So what is it that your project needs, Erica, for you to be able to do that? What are the things that your project is missing at the moment?
A lot of things. No, I would say, well, help in the sense, for example, help in the social media, which I'm really not capable of dealing with. Some technical help, for example, also in the post-production of some video interviews, fundings. We are gathering fundings because, of course, if traveling is kind of the main thing, is going to meet the masters And of course, I can do interviews on the computer. And in fact, I am also doing that. But there is something in going towards them and meet them, which is actually creating, an important bond, an important recognition, because that's the point, is I'm coming to honor you in person with my body presence. So we are looking for funding to make the travels happen. Yeah.
To make the content happen. Okay, so this is a shout out for anybody who's watching this. If you would like to collaborate, add to the project, contribute to the project financially, through time, through whichever ways that you're called to do so, please get in touch with
Skills,
Erica.
yeah, any skills is very welcome, because
Yeah, so hopefully we can connect up and see how we can be of any help to you in terms of technology, in terms of spreading the word, in terms of any of those kinds of things. So yeah, please continue to do what you're doing, and I think you coming out and talking about what you're doing also can inspire a lot of people to looking at what you're doing from a different perspective. This is not just a project that is pulling out stories and putting it up on the internet, but the kind of effect that it has on the community in a long run is by aiding people in accessing information in a very efficient way, which otherwise is very difficult to find. Which therapist to go find, and there are so many platforms to be able to help you do that. There is a place to go out and find some masters who have been teaching on very specific areas of spirituality or consciousness or whatever it is, right? So projects like yours are what we feel are going to build the content base, the information base, and the trust base on the internet when it comes to seeking and the infrastructure around seeking, right? So
yeah.
all the best. Continue to do what you're doing, and
Thank you. You
we will
too.
stay in touch, and we will do the best we can to help you and support you.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
So,
Ciao. Yes.
okay. If anyone wants to reach out to me, how do they do that?
We can send your email address if you're
Okay,
open
perfect.
to that.
Yeah, sure.
Or they can get
Email,
in touch with
perfect.
us, and then we will make the connection.
Okay.
I'm sure there are a lot of different ways one can find people, but yes, we will always help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Erica. All the best. Ciao.
Bye. All the best to you. Ciao. Ciao. Ciao.
All right, so that was the scheduled speakers of the Eternal Return Unconference. We have come to almost the end of day 4. I can see Ashish already clapping in the backstage. I can't tell you how grateful I am to my team for helping me do what I wanted to do, and it soon became a collective experience. But before I sort of start signing off and giving off these closing notes, I think we have a open hour session, an open mic session for the next 10 minutes, I think.
I'm still waiting on him. He hasn't showed up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So in that case, we're going to go ahead and close this because I don't want to hold up anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pulling Somnath in as well. Somnath, if you can please turn your camera on, if not your microphone, because we always find you sitting in noisy locations. But this is the team. So, anybody who's watching, that's Ashish. Ashish and I have been collaborating for almost a decade, maybe even more than that, I don't know. When I spoke to him and I said, hey, listen, I'm working on something like this and I want somebody to come and help me out. He had just moved to London from India. He jumped and he said, yes, let's do this because, it's a calling for him as well. And Somnath, sitting out of Pune, just dropped out of nowhere saying that I want to help you guys manage with your growth and communication and all of that kind of stuff. So, there are so many different reasons why this project came to life. One of them, obviously, is a personal discovery of my own journey of seeking and realizing how many different challenges this world of seeking faces. And at the same time, after having spoken to so many different people who had great, entrepreneurial capabilities and skills and had done so many things in the past, now not having enough avenues to, stretch their whatever wings, if you may call them, because the common problem that we always face is that once you go through the process of self-realization, the ecosystem to help you stay within your center and actualize your realization is, I believe, one of the biggest gaps in the world today. Because once when you say you've understood who you are and what you care about and what you really want to do in this world, you have two choices. Either you have to step into the world and continue to play within the matrix and hope that your center is not, shifting or getting altered again, or you have to stop participating in the matrix, and then you have to start sort of disconnecting from the rest of the world. It is okay to do so if you don't have a family, if you're not an entrepreneur who's running a company, or if you don't have these responsibilities in the world that you have to respond to. If you have, you see, it is a soul crushing experience on a daily basis, because the ecosystem doesn't support you to continue to stay within your center and express from there. So what do, right? So this sort of existential question is what sort of led us to come out and experiment with sacred startups. You say, can we really create a world? Can we really create an environment where an entrepreneur can come in and express from their center, from their truth, right? And there are so many other reasons. At the same time, we feel like a lot of the load is being now carried on the shoulders of the realized masters of the world. And there are so many, there are only so much that a realized master can do. And there is only so much a realized master can speak to whoever who is listening. I think maybe we are stepping into a world where we will probably need what, lack of a better term, I call as micro masters in disguise of technology, where they're coming out and they're talking about more of these things that the masters are talking about as well, and helping people sort of find their inner truth as quickly as possible, for especially people who are looking for it actively, or people who are seeking for it actively. The ones who are not what we want to talk to. We only want to talk to people who are looking for it actively and who are wanting to get in the direction. So I think these last 3-4 days has given us a lot of confidence, has taught us a lot of new things in terms of how we can do better and where we could probably go from here. Because strength only sort of multiplies through action. Confidence only multiplies through response and action that we take in the world. And I can tell you that we feel as collectively as a team, and me as individually, a lot more confident and stronger than what we felt 4 days back when we were coming into this conference. Walking out of this, thanks to all of the people that came in and shared their stories with us, has given us more clarity and strength in order to try and do what we want to do. We don't know if we will be able to succeed in what we're doing, but all we can do is try, right?
Yeah.
All we can do is to put in our effort and hope that the other 50-60% of the work that the divine needs to do does as well. It sort of goes without saying that we have not come here without the grace of the divine, because we've only showed up and done our bit, which is by putting things into place and resources into place and people into place. But to be honest, the entire machinery that has worked and the way it has fallen into place and then the way it's flown in and out of different situations is nothing less than a miracle, or an example, or a case study of a flow, or a divine flow. All these beautiful people so open-heartedly coming and giving, and all of them coming on time, and none of us losing power, none of us losing internet, none of us losing our peace and sanity while we're going through all of this process, is nothing less than a miracle. Because so many things can go wrong in this world all the time. But the attitude that we carry is to constantly look at the positives and looking at what is working instead of what is not working. There are a couple of things that did not work, a couple of things that we promised which we could not deliver. Some of them were some interesting conversations that we wanted to have around Tantra and around other ancient wisdoms. And, some of the conversations that we also wanted to have with some investor communities who were looking at investing into spaces like these. We could not fulfill those promises because we tried and some things just didn't work out and they just fell apart. There's only so much we can do, and those are the lessons that we sort of take from these experiences, and we continue to move on. So what next, we don't know, but we do definitely have a few ideas, and we will continue to work on this. What we need is a lot more support in terms of volunteers, fellows, resources, in all areas of work, right? Whether it is technology, whether it is managing social media, whether it is people who have intentions to put in capital into these kind of places to come and become a part of this collective. People who can help us in building projects that brings enough representation of all kinds of ancient wisdoms onto the internet. Right now, the ancient wisdom that you see is a lot of them interpreted through second, third cultural experiences that are sort of altered to their own lived experiences, whether you're coming from, whether if you're interpreting a Central American or a South American ancient wisdom, coming from the lens of an American citizen or American heart, or somebody who's coming and speaking about a tantric tradition from a European perspective, is great. We need all of these perspectives because that's what sort of makes this whole thing a complete picture. But we also need more and more people from other wisdoms and traditions to come in and voice directly their experiences and their wisdom. So there's so much we can do. There is so much that needs to be done to represent the consciousness ecosystem of the world, of humanity on the internet, which is a big gap today, right? I know these are great ideas, big plans, a lot of ambition, and it may not necessarily be possible to fulfill for us in one lifetime. But the beautiful thing about being on the path is that time doesn't necessarily play out in the way it plays out in the linear world, right? So time is we generally are forced to think in timelines of 100, 200, 300 years. And then, hey, listen, at some point in time in life, I think we need to start thinking really big, and we need to start sort of stretching the concept of time beyond a quarter or beyond 5 years, right? It's fun to build something for humanity in the long run. Monetization, profitability, sustainability, all of these things are big questions and big question marks, which we don't have answers for. But what we know is that the greatest companies that got built on the internet, like Facebook and Instagram and Google, and including the Instagram and including internet itself, nobody had a clue how anybody could sustain this growth and this innovation. There was no set path for monetization. Only even now, I mean, it's a classic case and a cliched example of Amazon still not making money. Or not profitable. Sorry, not making, they make money, but they're not profitable. But if we can sort of sustain and take in the sort of non-profitable approach towards building organizations like Amazon and Google and so on and so forth on the internet, I think we can adopt the same sort of attitude and approach towards doing better for the species, the human species as well, by hopefully taking a long-term approach and hopefully hoping that this is going to benefit humanity and the species in its evolution in the long run. Yeah, listen, this is not a prepared speech. This is just flowing out as it is coming, and I don't even have a speech. I don't even have anything written or as notes that I prepare for these things, but this is what is coming out, and we're just channeling what's coming out.
We should get Juta in and...
oh, we do have Juta. We have the open mic in. Okay, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. All right, so I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to drop off. Ashish, you're going to introduce Juta, and
Sure.
thank you, Somnath. Thank you, Ashish, for being a part of this journey.
Right. Hi, Juta.
Hello, Ashish. Thank you very much for bringing me in.
No worries.
Well, I think I am the person who is bringing the thanks to you, Shashi, Ashish, and Somnath, for putting this together. It was just a wonderful combination of ideas and perspectives and very old wisdoms. Right? Is it okay that I just go ahead in this way, or can we have a conversation? How do you do the open mic?
I thought you had a topic in mind. It was around collaboration and co-creation.
Yes.
Oh, so let's start with what do you do? Where are you calling in from?
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm coming in. I would love to share a little bit about my collaboration and co-creation programs. I'm actually an educator at the Vienna University of Technology, and I found this unconference through Melanie. She is actually on a world tour with her post-growth entrepreneurship, and she visited me in in my classes in Vienna.
Oh, wow.
And it's really a very big learning for me to have different kind of words that I've been feeling strange about for all of my life, I think. And that's why I connected a lot also to Shashi, who was saying that he is confused in how to create an environment actually, or an ecosystem where things can thrive, where lots of microeconomies can get started. I really like that word. I took that down. So what I'm doing in my classes that I started about 20 years ago is I have engineering students from many different fields of study, 20 to 25. So I have architects, mechanical engineers, IT people, and any kind of flavor of study fields that the university offers. And we work together on ideas, because I think ideas that you want to build is the beginning of anything. And there's, of course, lots of sources where those ideas can come from. But for building those ideas, we need other people. And that's where collaboration and co-creation comes in. And unfortunately, education doesn't really have the space anymore, so we can try it out. How does it actually work to gather a team around? And how do we make sure we don't step on each other's toes? And can we actually talk about what the problem was last team meeting when things didn't work,
Right.
So over those years, when I started this, it was more like the entrepreneurial spirit that was in the center. But because of the feedback of all of the people in my courses, and that's up to date, I think 365 or something teams of engineers that I accompanied building their ideas. It kind of turned out.
I'm very curious to ask
Yes.
you, because you worked with so many teams, and what were some of the things you've felt as gaps, what teams don't talk to each other, right? Let's just jump on that point and have that conversation for the next 10 minutes, and that would be an amazing end to the session, right? So when a meeting happens and there's untold talks, right, there's a lot of gaps when it comes to the conversation, the collaboration. So what are some of the insights that, if you can share, that would be really amazing? One or two should be fine.
Yeah, happy to. There is a couple of things that keep showing up again and again. And one of them is respect, being respectful to each other. And the other one is around motivation. And I think it's connected, of course, right? So it's always the question, it's the chicken or the egg, what is there first, right? So you can keep being motivated. I think we can talk about it for a very long time about this. So
Right. I mean, let's say if somebody is building a team right now, we are a team right now. Is there some sort of ritual that you feel? Let's say when we do meditation, we all take breath work, right? Do you feel this should be an important part of every team's meeting, where they come into it and they have a bit of a grounding into the meeting, and then they do the meeting, right, with all the focused energy going into it. If this itself, this small 5 minutes ritual that we as individuals do when we get up in the morning, but if we take it as a part of how we do meetings, this itself can create a lot of better, meetings happening and the kind of conversations happening. What do you tell them any of these kind of stuff?
Well, I would love to do more of these kind of recommendations. This is great, and I think a lot of people from different walks of life have, shared their ideas around even starting with a 1 minute of silence at the beginning of a meeting. Well, I have these young engineers, and for them, many of the things are these fluffy things, right? It's like it's just like marketing and sales are very bad, don't get into it. And, so there's a lots of silos in our minds, I would say, that we are not connecting. So I'm trying to bring, I think, a lot of humor to connect people and to make them aware of their values and to show them how they can learn about themselves. So reflection is a very big point. And talking about things that didn't work. So really taking the hot potato and talking about it rather than, just putting it away somewhere and continuing as if nothing has happened. So that's my starting points.
I really like the fact about the reflection that you pointed out. It's very nice. Awesome. Thanks, Twitter, for coming in and sharing your thoughts. We should definitely, connect more and deep dive on this. We'll definitely do that online so that we can, host you again. Thank you so much for coming in and have a great day.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you very much. Looking forward to connecting again.
Yep. All right, everyone. That's the end of the unconference. Somnath, I'm going to bring you in because you haven't talked much. Any last words or anything that you want to share to people before we end?
I mean, this experience was, not less than, incredible experience. I thought I think it was an amazing journey, and a lot of things are coming in. A lot of experiments that we are going to do. Stay tuned. Connect with the community, and will bring something amazing for all the audience, right?
Awesome. Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one. Take all the stuff that you've learned from the conference. Please share it out to your friends. Please put down your learnings out there and tag us so that it's just not limited. This is all unlimited stuff. This is which should be shared out in the world. Please, whatever you learned, even a tiny bit of reflection out there, please go ahead and share that in the world and share more about the sacred work that's we are doing. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend, and yeah, have a good one.
Yes. Thank you.